Exile, and we're back to Sunless Skies. Thank you for joining. Just make sure everything is in order. Good. All right. We're starting off at Magdalene's. Oh, it's muted, right? Getting the same audio twice over. I don't think the entry audio plays over Magdalene's. Maybe I'm wrong. No, I'm definitely getting some extra audio right now. Where's that coming from? Did I open that up myself? Is that... That can't be playing there. Am I hearing a playback from OBS? No, that couldn't be. Where on earth are you capturing that audio from? Did I open two instances of Sunless Skies? It doesn't seem so. It's got to be coming from the stream, right? So right now, I'm hearing an extra instance of the Magdalene's ticking, but I'm too far away to hear that right now. What is going on? How would that be happening? I don't have another instance of Twitch open somewhere, right? No. No, it doesn't look like it. This is very peculiar. Okay, that's certainly muted. May need to close out of the game and come back in. Well, let's see. Why am I still hearing the tick? But I'm not hearing my own voice. Well, that's quite the scuffle. Let's see. I need to get to Palmyre's and New Winchester. Let's just go around this way, avoid the conflict. Maybe the ticking of Magdalene's is audible that far away. Well, if somebody comes into the chat and there is an audio distortion, please let me know. I'd love to detangle that. Now, though, let's get settled. Got a number of things to see to. Things to do at Magdalene's and also, well, things done at Magdalene's. But at Palmyre's, New Winchester, and the Reserve, I could also return to the Trader's Woods and try to have a less embarrassing set of outcomes. Oh, well, I accidentally avoided the, Statue of the Unknown Rat. It's cheating myself. Simple reach, Marauders. Come on now. There we go. Routine at this point. An uncanny specimen. When I I do get around to the vicinity of the nature reserve, I might be looking for bronzewood for a while. I need quite a lot of it still. It's good that I was able to salvage enough to progress the fatalistic signalman storyline. But we're still missing quite a bit that we'll need to fulfill that request for the Chiropteran Hoarder. I am less concerned now with regards to scribe spinsters, but I still have to fear curators. As far as I know, I think there's only the one curator nest in the Reach, maybe two. At least one. I know of where to find one. Bunch of tackities about. I'm not usually the sort of captain to risk my vessel in conflicts. It takes me a bit longer to get through certain things. It's much more profitable to do a couple of risky things. Good turnaround on that. Alright, stopping in at Palmyre's. We should have the circus fully restored at this point. Now that I will return the clown's geese costumes. Costumes for the clown's geese. New arrivals. Listen to their stories. Use terror. Still routine. Report for Palmyre's. Behind the tents, I'll deliver the clown his costumes. Pensive Clown opens the crate of specially made costumes. He considers the twinkling stones as a wishful child might a star. In time, he nods, and reaches arm deep into his novelty pockets to find your reward. He searches your face for a smile when he reaches too far and topples over. That should be all of them. Can't speak to the ringmaster. I think this might be different. The echoing silence of the empty tent is undercut by something just out of earshot, a buzzing almost. You travel to the giant obelisk to one side of the port. The noise, the sensation only gets louder. The obelisk is covered with giant, indecipherable symbols, and as you touch it, you being here feels right on some deep primal level. All thoughts of travel melt away. There is a place for you here, where you're meant to be, among the grease paint and the sawdust. You quickly pull your hand away, the itch recedes. Might as well collect my free tickets. How do I speak to the ringmaster again? Let's check another performance, perhaps? Here we go. Big Top is filled. The audience chatters in anticipation. When the lights dim and the ringmaster is drawn into the center ring on his horse-drawn calliope, singing of the night's delights, the applause is rapturous. Then come the acts. The magician appears suddenly from a puff of smoke, dazzling the crowd with his many amazing devices. Acrobatic twins swing from their trapeze, figures of perfect symmetry as they go back and forth. The pensive clown is heralded by his comedic geese, Cuddles and Ruffles, who march in their finery before him. They honk as he juggles them, and the audience collapses into laughter. The strong woman asks the crowd if they brought anything for her to lift. They cheer as a group of 10 attendees struggle to wheel out a wagon full of crates and barrels. Not only does she lift them all in turn, she overturns the wagon single-handedly at the end to rapturous applause. You are a known presence in the circus. Then I suppose there's not much else to investigate here. I feel there should be more of a conclusion. A moment's memory. Palmyre and Plenty's inconceivable circus is pulling in crowds. The sigils smolder invitingly. You could touch it if you like. Here, once before. The circus has vanished. The islands on which it stood are empty. Empty aside from a vast tree of fungus stretching up into the heavens. Its hyphae stretch from island to island, weaving them together. A verdant. Looming above it is a luminous crustacean the size of a palace. A messenger. Its carapace is emblazoned with the sign of 2 overlapping suns. Its pincers flex, slowly, thoughtfully. This is the kind of creature that the Bazaar of London is. Was. I'm uncertain if it still is somewhere. Sigils burn in the air between the two, exchanged like volleys in a tennis match. Gradually, the flurry of correspondence diminishes. A compact has been reached. The messenger drives the obelisk into the ground, a marker of their concord. The obelisk is marked with the words of the emissaries, of meeting, of peace. One, close to the point, ignites in searing light, a commingling of radiances. The obelisk remembers the promise. Something has to. We've seen into the past of the circus, the reason why it is able to exist here, why it's called to exist here. And I'll stock up on literature because it's here. Always buying, always selling. Let's pop in at New Winchester. We've earned ourselves another searing enigma. Although I don't have a definitive goal for acquiring multiple of them. I've used one along the course of things to acquire our intrepid KV, which is able to scout almost a quarter of a map at a time. It's actually an absolutely absurd scouting radius. It's such a large scouting radius that it's actually difficult to use. I'm wondering if the passage used to reach Blue Kingdom is the same passage that's here in New Winchester, Blue Kingdom Transit Relay. Do I need to repair it, maybe? Unsure. It's where we began things. Unsurprising if it were to be a continuation. But this captain may retire without seeing the Blue Kingdom. New Winchester at last. We've been away for quite some time. This is our first return to New Winchester since returning to the Reach. Tackety's answer. London's invention of the Monitor-class locomotives has sparked alarm in the Reach. After 4 pubs and rather more than 4 drinks, you managed to learn the following. Firstly, the Tacketys have embarked on a project to develop new locomotives of their own. It is only a matter of time until the first ones are completed. Secondly, the work is taking place at the O'Brien factory at Lustrum. Thirdly, the Tacketys are desperate for donations of expertise or bronzewood to expedite the construction. Bronzewood or crew to Lustrum. Or munitions to sabotage them. Interesting. We aren't in need of repairs or crew, not right now. Hours for Palmyre. 5 panes of stained glass for Titania. We have reason to go by Titania, but not the glass. Put a few things away. Hours for Palmyre's we can do quite easily, so we'll take that on. Needs 5 barrels. No problem at all. Get a little bit more supplies than the Victoria Mark or anything else. Then we're exploring the city to escort the incautious driver home. This is regarding the funeral for his father. The incautious driver's mother greets you both at the gate, her tone chillier than Lustrum frost. The prodigal returns then, somewhat late, but I suppose better late than never. Your father would have been pleased to see the effort. Well, you'd better come in. The funeral party gathers on the main lawn behind the house, sipping wine and eating delicate sandwiches without crusts. You find the driver in a dusty old playroom. A portrait hangs on the wall showing a young boy and his younger sibling. My older brother and I, the driver confides, we aren't close. He was outdoorsy while I spent most of my time in here. I almost died of a sky sickness as a baby. Took a long time to recover, and I was very frail. Mother and father thought it best I stay indoors. I didn't mind. The world outside sounded terrible. full of monsters and diseases and accidents. I was happier with my toy trains, and my window garden, and my books. The ceremony is solemn. Members of the family take turns to lay flowers on the coffin and say a few words. The driver places a flower and says nothing. You find them later, the shadow of a rose bush brought all the way from Old London. It was Father who said I should leave, you know. Her voice is quiet. I had to work, after all, and he knew I liked botany. He arranged a position for me at the nature reserve, booked passage on a reputable engine. First time I'd left New Winchester. We crashed within sight of our destination. When I stumbled into port, I wasn't afraid of anything anymore. I thought I'd found my courage in the wilds, but it was the verdant, wasn't it? It colonized me and took away my fear. The driver looks at the house, to the dark window of the playroom. When it's done with me, which version of myself will remain? They frown. Can we go now? A sound of commotion. Mid-morning calm is shattered by furious yelling in the distance. Psalmists are causing trouble again, shouts a passing urchin joyously. It's an urchin. He should have used a lighter voice. My mistake. Chaplet Street is lined with gleaming churches dedicated to every conceivable deity, sect, or heresy. And there's a corner of Chaplet Street, nestled between a crematorium and a tobacco shop, where the city's least popular temples have been segregated. On this grubby and profane little corner, a group of yellow-collared Vikers are trying to make themselves heard above the furious yelling of a gaunt priest. The psalmists seem to be getting into an unholy row with the new sequencers. As you approach, the psalmists pour from their ramshackle church and charge. I'm gonna stand back and watch. A scrabbling, vicious, faintly embarrassing street fight ensues. The constables arrive and break it up before long. This again, one of the constables pinches the bridge of her nose. She pulls a slip of paper from her pocket and hands it to the psalmist's head priest. We're shutting your church down, effective immediately. Been nothing but trouble since you arrived. The priest stares at the paper. He sits heavily on the church's doorstep. Ah, so they'd like to go to the Blue Kingdom, then. The psalmist priest throws himself at your feet. I kneel before you twice scorned, he says. Once by my former congregation, now again by the prejudiced machinations of the city. Please, take us aboard your train. He pulls a tattered map from his equally tattered robes. Here, the White Well in the Blue Kingdom, where the dead go. We will build anew there. We will spread our word even beyond the veil. I'll go along with his offer. There's not much reason not to. I think we'll just stick around. I have my passenger from the New Street line. The gardens are planted with somber species imported from old Earth and grown under the golden light of the clockwork sun. The veins of the leaves are delicate as cut glass. The philanthropist has alerted the local conductor to your arrival. He meets you beside a gray statue of a serene mermaid. His voice is plummy and moneyed. Plummy and moneyed. My hansom will take us from here. Thank you, friend. One work worlder saved. Seems there's a lot to do regarding saving work worlders. I could be at that for a very, very long time, I trust. So then, we've got business at Palmyre's, the reservation, possibly some at Titania. It would be better if I had more stained glass, but I didn't come back with much. Also, 2 munitions, 1 crockery. And that will conclude things in Lustrum and Port Avon. This is going to be a very long outing. So we're going to begin very, very thoroughly stocked. Since I'm going to be going around to a lot of places, we need to make sure we turn in our port reports first. After port reports, we'll go to Palmyre's, followed then by the Nature Reserve, and then on to Titania and Carillon. And then Titania and Carillon to Lustrum, and then Port Avon. It's basically a full loop of everything in my southern half of the Reach. After that, we might actually be gearing up for the Blue Kingdom or something. Ports on the Prudent Secretary. Some sovereigns. I can probably use more ministry stamp permits. I burn through these all the time. I've got a lot of gratitude. Also, port reports here don't really turn into anything else fancy. Yeah, I'm going to start turning in port reports with the Tackities, I think. Turn the balance of power around just a little bit, and I think they might be able to provide me with an unlicensed chart. I know you can get an unlicensed chart from the New Street line in Albion. I haven't needed them yet, but it seems I'll need them to progress the Princess's storyline beyond a certain point. Although I believe that work is not in the Reach. Oh, I haven't heard that little tune before. The sound of trains coming in. Right, back out to Palmyre's delayed bidders. Making our way along. I suppose if there was anybody else to talk to at the moment, it would be the incautious driver. Making a decision. What do I want, Captain? Driver smiles awkwardly. How can I even tell anymore? Everything in my head says I should go to the nature reserve. End this already. But the verdant fragment. Is it fair to condemn it so that I can go on? I recommend they finish the journey. You're right, of course. I spent too many years worrying about the consequences. We must finish this. To the nature reserve, then. Through here. It's downright calm here in the Reach. I wish I had enough sovereigns to afford that shiny new engine while I was back in London. But it's just a bit steep. Difficult to justify. Oh. Another verdant fragment. Let's see. I think I've been studying these previously. I don't care for fuel at the moment. I want to learn more. A vision of the heavens. The fungus likes voices. We've learned as much before. I'll be happy to put back in at Leadbitter and Stainrods. I've got some old business there. I turned in a few things to the scientist, although I wasn't able to get the clippings from Titania, because Titania was a bit out of sorts. What are these Tackities doing? It's belching black smoke. Is it damaged? The inconvenient aunt shudders at the notion of a carnival. We've got quite a lot of crew at the moment. A little careless of me. Being cautious, perhaps. Your delivery of hours. There you are. Oh, actually, I turned in my port report, so I can get a new one. Let's do that. It's 100 sovereigns on the table, after all. That's that. Moving on. The soundtrack is always so nice and calming. Everything except for the high terror music. I suppose I haven't heard the tunes that may belong to Eleutheria and the Blue Kingdom, but soon. there's certainly a diligence in seeing the game through to its later storylines. You need to be familiar with things, live in them for a while. You hear bees up ahead. I'm on track, though. Solid 3 shots. Come at me. How good we are harvesting this by now. Ah, yes. Yes, the princess needs bee souls. Let's get some bee souls for the princess. Collecting the soul of a chorister bee swarm is traditionally an onerous endeavor, made a little easier by the distraction the incognito princess provides. She stands by her porthole, nose nuzzling against the glass, while the spectral remains of the swarm jostle to get closer to her. "Oh, you little people already love me," she whispers, thrilled. While the princess is bonding, you have a more arduous task, slowly unwinding a soul from the bee's not-quite corpse, while avoiding the last futile twitches of its sting. 2 more bee souls, then. Anything for the captivating princess. Hey, it's worth it to me. I'm getting chorister nectar all the while. A certain date. There's a tentative knock at your cabin door. Opening it, you find one of your more gregarious junior signalers. "I've been going through the crew records," she tells you. "I found something interesting. It's the anniversary of the conductor stepping from the stone." The crew want to mark the occasion with a little shindig. Is she suppressing a grin? Interesting. It's a clay conductor event. The signaler's face falls. You'll attend? I'll get started right away. Together, you prepare the galley for a celebration. You convince your cook to fetch the better brandy and to make something a little special. When the hour arrives, you lure the clay conductor in. To everyone's surprise, he stays. He makes painful small talk with your stokers and drinks far too much of the punch. Your crew regard him like a talking bear, but everyone is polite. While your crew are engaged in a game of poker that will definitely require disciplinary action later, the conductor tracks you down. He babbles earnestly about Aklis and Eleutheria and the claymen who work for Murgatroyd Company. He would very much like to visit. Interesting. I suppose that's his first interaction since Magdalene's. So, progress. Let's see. I should get those other 2... I need to make sure I get those other 2 bee souls before I stray too far away from, say, Titania. It's no concern, really. I think chorister bees are only really dangerous if you have a basic weapon in the basic vessel. Oh. Bronzewood. Excellent. We have so much more hold than the last time we were in the Reach. Let's stock it full of wealth. Perhaps an end to the incautious driver's woes. Apparently I have a settler to drop off. The flora of the Leadbeater and Stainrod's Nature Reserve loom taller than its high iron walls. Researchers on the walls do not notice you. No one will look the settler in the eye. His scowl could shatter glass. "We're late," he says. "I can only hope the people of this good settlement are less prone to tardiness than you. Here are your wages. I bid you good day." Just a little bit of extra profit for going to places I would go anyway. Port report. Export sapling knots to New Winchester. Seems like it's usually New Winchester. At Capabilities Inquest, the base of research. Let's ask him about his completed research. The phlegmatic researcher's table is covered with thick grass and growing rapidly. His colleagues are celebrating vigorously, more so even than last time. A scout is singing loudly, if tunelessly. Another is stomping through the room in some kind of dance. The research contains certain growth-encouraging airs, which I acquired. Captains call it the Peacock Wind. I call it the breath of God. The phlegmatic researcher strikes the table with his cane. And this is what we've accomplished. A fertilizer so potent it'll grow whatever you seed into it. It costs a fortune to make, but it's still a tremendous step forward. He glances warily at the singing scout, whose voice is growing hoarse. I don't know what's gotten into them, although I suppose it is a remarkable discovery. It seems like the experience is the most valuable thing here. Well then, what is your next list? The pen of a scribe spinster, some ligaments of a guest, a trader's wood mandrake, ice from old Tom's well. The guest will be the most difficult thing there. I can get everything else more or less reliably, I think. With difficulty, you help the driver drag the remnants of the fragment into the great tree in the middle of the reserve. Once again, its buds open up, showering spores to absorb its memories into itself. You're close enough to taste some of them yourself this time. An acrid, sour taste in the back of your throat. From it, an image forms in your mind. A squirming black cancer writhing in the heart of a god. A sudden darkness, light is extinguished by betrayal. A single burning thought. Murderer. The image fades, the edges withering from memory. Driver steps away, breathing out the last of their infestation. Their eyes no longer glint emerald, but the damper green of moss. They stand differently now, not trembling with the effort of keeping still. Your incautious driver is now judicious, and will increase your iron by 10, your affiliation establishment by 2. Excellent. Quick trip into the reserve. Sky stories. I think there's not much to get from the ornithologist, so we should be more or less done here. More ministry-approved literature for sale. I don't seem to be regretting picking this stuff up whenever possible. I don't want to load up too heavily because I might be able to get some gourds of chorister nectar in my upcoming little bit of research. If I need to go to Old Tom's Well, it's a bit less comfortable. Well, let's see. I needed to go to the Jedicus hives one way or another. And I suppose going to Old Tom's Well, if it's part of a lengthy endeavor, I ought to do it. Been by there before, I don't have terror yet, so might as well. Let's see, from there we'll be going to Carillon, followed by a trip to Titania. There's no fuel in Carillon, but Titania does have it. They both export chorister nectar. To the extent that's meaningful, whatever. Bit of the Peacock Wind. I'll have to watch out if I look like I'm about to run into combat, in accordance with Peacock Wind. Oh, I see. The new vessels deployed by London are also here in the Reach. I wasn't certain they'd be here. Okay. Out on the other side. Find ourselves at the Jedicus hives. Take a hit from that. There are my souls. Very good. One more. Those ones aren't pissed off yet. There we go. She wishes you to head to Carillon. Well, we'll get that done soon. The hive quickly dispersed. We're very good at this now. But nonetheless, we've lost a crew. takes care of that. This time we'll get the nectar. Alright. Going past Trafalgar's Hoard, I think there's usually a Scribe Spinster around this direction. I don't think I've ever come through here without running into a Scribe Spinster, at least once. It just happens. That's a little something I could make use of. That right there is a little somebody who's going to be a bother. I have one hold space for this. Good. Come on now. I'm gonna charge. All done. I'll get the repairs. This is gonna be a long journey. I need to be wary of any kind of risks like lingering damage. I also really don't need sky stories right now. It's fine. Okay, I need to be certain of my route through Tigalar's Haunt. Give it as wide of Earth as possible. It is indeed a horror. Oh my, is it from here that I can hear the well? Yes, it is quite something, isn't it? Another mad explorer of some kind. Let's just push you into that. That sounds fun. Give the guns a moment to cool. There we go. Sky Story. Bit of Sovereigns. And I have one hold space to pick this up. Munitions. And we've attracted some other little scamp. If I could set you tumbling into the well, it would be most educational for me. There we go. Right then, to the well. Making our descent to gather up some ice. And that's actually the only thing we're looking to do here. Let's leave. Ah, I didn't get the exploration credit before. I didn't come close enough last time. Well, thankfully that's done now. The Candle Wind. Let's get out of that. Bellies growl and groan. Their larders suffer accordingly. The Candle Wind is the wind of hunger. Just as one may seek the name of one Mr. Eaton, who is himself related to wells. And as they say in London, all is well, all will be well, and all matter of things will be well. Touch of the skies. We could do an additional ration of brandy. The alternative is generally lose a crew member. There might be a good outcome hidden there if you're very good at mirrors. Not mirrors, hearts. Hearts and irons will be the next captain. Damned opposite. Alright, into Carillon. We've got a lot of business here. And it's supplies here, but no fuel until we get to Titania. Overgrown Shrine. Contemplate the statue for a moment of calm. Carillon's foyer. We'll write a port report. We'll deliver the half-glass empty. Presiding Deviless descends to meet your rescued prisoner. She taps his glass eye with a fingernail. A sun-touched soul, she muses, an eager flash of tongue at her lips. Yes, we can take good care of him. The devils will care for him now. Your last words with the empty are awkward and brief. He was never much of a conversationalist. He thanks you, and he seems happy to leave it at that. When you return to your train, you find a nervous young man waiting outside with a barrel of souls. The Deviless told me to deliver these to you, he says. Said it was a fair trade for such a patient. Investigating the clocks. Your horological office pocket watch affords you access to the port's primary clock, from which others in the area get their time. You unpack your tools to begin. Assorted screwdrivers, brushes, pliers, tweezers, a small bottle of oil, a jeweler's loupe. Huh. Why would anybody sabotage the clock? I wonder if there's a reason to do so. Not one that I understand at this point. It seems if you want to manipulate the strength of the sun, you would do so by adjusting clocks. Not far from the clock, you spy a diligent Deviless checking on one of her charges. Their therapy and penance is listed as spending 5 minutes sealed in a mahogany box with 177 spiders. Those 5 minutes are due to be over in, she checks, yes, another 14 hours. Idly humming, she continues her rounds. Oh no. Oh, terrible shame for somebody who is very concerned about the state of their soul. A candlelit soiree with the inconvenient aunt. She insisted that it will do you good. Come on, she says, a fierce gleam behind her spectacles. Your aunt, chattering constantly, guides you through the ash-gray stone chambers of Carillon. Eventually, you reach a little door in one of the less-traveled backways. Your aunt knocks thrice. The door swings open. A severe, scarred old woman peers out. Bunty, your aunt cries happily. After a brief introduction, Bunty ushers you inside. You emerge into a room with a high mirrored ceiling. Its dark-paneled walls are illuminated by dripping crimson candles. Revolutionaries consort with ministry auditors. Devils drink with bright-eyed ministers of the new sequence. A famous Takati general is highly occupied with a distinguished admiral. What has she brought you to? I'll mingle. The aunt is fine. You introduce yourself to very many personages, some great and good, most borderline criminal. Everyone seems to believe you already know the rules, so you learn a number of surprising things about the information networks of the High Wilderness. Most crucially, the extent to which their frequent contact breeds certain mutual understandings. Suddenly you hear the familiar crunch of boiled sweets at your ear. Your aunt has returned. Her expression is aghast. Let's get out of here. I've learned something about a rendezvous at St. Dunstan's. She refuses to say more here. Just a tale of terror, but that amount of experience is quite excellent. Now then, in terms of traveling around Carillon, we have access to everywhere in Carillon, and we're better than we were the last time we came here. Considering my possession of penances, do I have none? Or are penances part of your profile? Soul. I have a penance of enlightenment. Otherwise, I have a lot of soul problems, theoretically. Let's begin with the Bell Garden and see if we can get one of each penance. We're not good at this, mind you. But we can probably take on a decent bit of terror. We don't even have any nightmares right now. I state again, we're not good at this. Oh my. Well, we will probably come back later. Now, which of these were we actually good at? We're good enough at this one. I'm not going to cure the curdling of my soul just yet. Just trying to see if I can gather up one of everything. Penance of Ordeal, I believe, is based on irons, which we are bad at. Penance of Excess. I've read all of these before. Ouch. And a harder hearts check. It only gets harder for the later options. I think this one may be new to me. A penitent ape. This is new. Interesting. The devils call this place a garden in jest. It is barren sand under the rest of Carillon, not served by any sunlight. The sand is coarse and itchy, the air dry and over-hot. One feels hungry, thirsty, even a bit faint just standing here. Penitents here are mostly fierce, burly types, some of them scarred. One or two look as though they rightfully should be dead. He has collected human souls, and now he is here to cultivate them. He tells you in a low mutter, this soul was a gambler, but a good one, able to remember odds and figures, fast at seeing an opponent's bluff, took bets where he shouldn't, calculated the odds of dying in a knife fight, and decided he didn't mind a 10% risk if the pot was large enough. A good soul, but it would be a better one if it could be coaxed, post-mortem, into a little more sense of mortality. That would make it more poignant. At least, so you gather. The ape does not use words like poignant, but you take its meaning. Penance of inescapable truth, or a penance of excess. Still not good at getting penances en masse like this. Got a good price on seeds, but I don't care. And I'm not going to fill up my hold with anything more at the moment. Let's take a facet. Becoming more interesting all the time. Metamorphosis. Your club. We don't need to take your club until we have some nightmares down the line. It'll keep showing up periodically. We're looking at probably a settler or a metamorphosis. Been focusing on mirrors very diligently. I think we can serve to become a bit better rounded. The break points are usually at about blocks of 10 or 15 or so. I feel like being able to have our hearts up towards 45 would be very useful, and I don't seem to be getting any hearts from officers right now. I can pick up some hearts and veils from a metamorphosis, or even hearts and irons to really balance myself out. I'm not certain what is required for the most tricky bits of equipment. I've never seen them. But they probably won't be wielded by this captain anyway. I just need to be aware of them. Let's go... hearts. You could no longer be the person you were told to be. Your old life would have ground you beneath it. You had to change. Was the change slow or sudden? A blank slate. You abandoned your old life. You cast it aside, as a snake must shed its skin. Well, that's a 12th facet out of 20. Doesn't seem like much when you get to it, but 20 instances of +8 is still quite a lot. I don't know if there's any repeatable way of increasing your attributes, like there is in C's. But I don't need to know. On to Titania. It's just fighting a Reach Marauder. No concern. not even quite worth going out of the way to check on. Let's see. They needed a trader's wood clipping, the pin of a scribe spinster, and the ligaments of a guest to complete that research in the best possible outcome. Wait, the princess said she wanted to do something at Carillon, but I didn't see anything for the princess. I need to go back to Carillon after this. I missed something. Bees. Get out of here. More nectar. I'm glad to see my fuel just tick over. Probably just going to be getting fuel here. Report. A new start for Titania. I can only advocate for an Albion style as such, and I'd like to get this started. Ah, affiliation with Bohemia. Port repairs require some amount of sovereigns. Well, that's simple enough. 30 sovereigns is nothing. Let's see. This unlocks the ability to keep constructing Titania with your current captain. The next captain in your lineage will find it ready for expansion. They need a lot. 1,000 sovereigns to pick up Titania. I don't think I need to do that necessarily. Wit and vinegar. Somewhere amidst the garrets and galleries of Titania hide the Midnight Rose. They make red honey, an old London vice. The manner of its creation is a secret, but it's rumored to require a breed of rose first grown in hell, bees, and memories harvested from caged subjects. Imbibing red honey allows you to live those memories, to ransack the contents of another's heart. Interesting. I'll ask the incognito princess about the matter. Oh, honey made me the woman I am today, she says with a secretive smile. I'd be happy to help. She strides from salon to salon, letting a crowd of adoring poets, artists, and addicts flock to her. Within an hour, she's secured you an introduction. Precarious descent of ladders leads down to the hideout of the Midnight Rose, a spiral of rickety platforms clinging to the great orchid stalk. There, the Rose have constructed an edifice of glass, something between an orangery and a cowshed. It hums with bees and shivers with sobbing. Why is the export of honey to London slowed? The revenue men, she says darkly. They've appointed a new captain to patrol the skies nearby. He used to be one of the gentlemen, smugglers who operate out of Pan. He knows a lot of the tricks. Inconvenient. You'll need to find a way to circumvent this canny captain. An unlicensed chart? %50 of the way towards funding a project at Titania to do this. If you completed Titania, it's the system another way. Interesting. Rose bushes heap against the glass and climb in thorny tangles through the greenhouse. Among them are tall cages, each occupied by a prisoner. Bees buzz into and out of their ears and sip from the corners of their eyes. Prisoners cry out and sob and plead. Look closer, the apiarist says. Around each of their necks hangs a key on a chain. They can free themselves at any time, but choose not to. They are artists, you see. They believe they must suffer if they are to one day make great art. Art no more relies on misery than plumbing relies on ennui. She has the dignity to look awkward. Yes, well, they're romantics. Perhaps telling themselves this lie will give them the confidence to make something remarkable. Think of it as a placebo. The medicine was only water and sugar, but the patient still recovered. It's hilarious. No, I don't need to worry about this. How do we get out of here? So, I have the interesting premise of we're definitely not donating any moments of inspiration. We donate Sky Stories quite a lot. Art exhibitions. Encourage a visitor to invest in Titania. Ah, an extra 10% funding progress is very nice. So if I can get this above 50%, I get a cover story. Sure. 500 sovereigns. Now let's go back to the Midnight Rose. Siphon some funds towards creating a front for their contraband. Libraries need books, and books can be hollowed out. Salons need wine, which comes in barrels in which you can conceal jars. Museums need visitors, and visitors have pockets and bags. You ensure that your current project in Titania will have an agreement with the Midnight Rose. Soon they'll be able to ship their contraband right past this canny new captain. The ethereal apiarist is pleased. The gloomy middleman probably won't be, but he might be slightly less miserable. You'd better deliver the good news to him. Gloomy middleman at London to complete his task and become a smuggler. All right. Smuggling is very profitable. Oh, no, I need a little bit more fuel before I go. Enough fuel at least to make it to Lustrum. Well, theoretically. Crockery, no thank you. Now, the hold is a little stopped up, isn't it? Yes, yes. Immaculate Souls, Ministry-approved literature, and all that. I could go back to New Winchester, but my intended destination was Lustrum. I think what I'm going to do is go back to New Winchester, because when I do get to Lustrum, they're going to have a bunch of hours unearthed for me, ideally. I'll need to be able to actually store those hours. So I can deposit these Immaculate Souls, this Ministry-approved literature, and a few of the other bits and bobs that I've come across. The Chorister honey. These things are always so troublesome. I actually missed them with all 3 shots. Oh well, it's fine. I don't need to pick fights with every single Chorister bee, it's just very profitable when I do. I don't have the hold space for more nectar right now, so we're going to move right along. We do still need to go to Carillon regarding whatever it is we forgot to do for the princess. So I will come back down this way after I've dropped some things off at New Winchester. Port reports and all that too. Possibly. Let's see. Business in Port Avon for the signalman. I've got a few things now requiring me to go to Atlas, as well as Eagle's Empyrean in Eleutheria. A few missions that would take me towards the Blue Kingdom. All I really know about Eleutheria is that the lift for Eleutheria is somewhere near Hybris. Right, so it's New Winchester, Carillon, then Lustrum, followed by Port Avon. And after that, I think I'll be making an expedition to achieve the next thing that the Chiropteran Hoarder wants. I am starting to get close to the point where we can buy up a mansion, and I'll have to see what's next after that. Yes, I understand Eleutheria and the Blue Kingdom are notably more dangerous than Albion. Certainly, I can accomplish everything I need to with regards to the ambition of wealth without actually leaving the Reach in Albion. And I think I might want to do that, to progress on from this ambition to another. Still need the munitions and crockery, but I don't know if I need that much. They only need 2 munitions, not 3. Picked up some more. Stained glass, I don't have. 5 consignments of bronze wood for Port Avon. I don't really have a lead on that much bronze wood. I've only got 3 bronze wood right now, and I need 6 for something else. That's more than enough for a trip to Lustrum. Deliver these sapling knots for a little bit of a payment. Yeah, you can keep running that as much as you want. Right then. Carillon for whatever opportunity I've missed after I turn in some port reports. I think I might be able to get an unlicensed chart soonish. I don't recall if you can get unlicensed charts from these guys or if it's somewhere else I'm thinking of. But we'll pull the balance of power back a little bit. I don't really want one side or another to win. I've already gotten the achievement for that happening. Victory Hall. Raised in the wake of the blockade of New Winchester, this magnificence of glass and steel houses the Colonial Assembly. Here, representatives of the independent ports of the Reach gather and quarrel. Here. A few port reports. Take them. She listens with a scowl. Well, I'd rather know than not, I suppose. Thank you for bringing this to me rather than the bloody stovepipes. I'll arrange a gratuity. Get savage secrets, otherworldly artifacts. And that's actually it. So, no, you can't get unlicensed charts here. Seems the only place I've found where you can get an unlicensed chart is buying one from the 2 weeks opportunity at Magdalene's at the cost of 450 sovereigns, which I think technically is a bargain for what that is. So, back onto Carillon, for whatever it is that wherever that story is that I've missed. I swear, there was something the princess wanted to do there. Conversation with the princess. It's gonna be in the journal then. Bee souls, head to Carillon. Oh, another fungal what's it. These are handy for reducing terror, for one, or gaining sky stories. Whichever one. I'll harvest some lichen for fuel. You supervise a bevy of stokers as they get to work with little sets of shaving knives. You have to send the engineers away, who insist on offering comment, refuse to touch the fungus for contractual reasons. The lichen appears in at least 7 shades. Experimentation with matches convince you only the limpid turquoise and vitriolic purple shades should be put in your boilers. Leads me to think that putting the other shades in the boilers will do something unkind, perhaps? Like a weird burbling noise off to the east there. You wouldn't think spatial sound to be relevant here, but it's actually useful in a few circumstances. There are a few significant ports and obstacles that both make a lot of noise. Some singularly unpleasant things, that is. Hello there, excuse me. bother with anything else there. Getting the supplies is actually good enough. It's such a shame to turn back around to somewhere I had just been because I missed a story. Most unfortunate thing about this is, if you step away from the game for a while, it can be fiendishly difficult to track all the things you need to do. The journal's quite good, but even then. Are you going to be poring over the journal the entire time, or are you going to play the game? And back to Caratlon we've returned after not very much time at all. If I had Carolon and Magdalene's closer together, on a captain who was better at hearts, there's a lot of profit to be made with that. Well, another port report, why not? Was it actually necessary for this? 5, affiliation with the establishment. Actually fairly difficult to approve. Here we go. Have the devils forge a ring for the princess. The devils will forge a ring for the princess to borrow. All they need is the right souls, as in those of chorister bees. The devils set to work, the uncanny distillation of the ethereal insectoid souls segueing into the mysteries of constructing stained glass with pure souls. The lead devil interrogates the princess as she watches, impatient. This will be a lone princess. The ring must be returned with interest. You understand this, yes? Yes, says the princess. I understand everything. That's part of what being a princess is about. With some trepidation, the devils pass the perfect glass circle to her. She holds it up, abruptly enchanted by the swarm of souls swirling around its interior. Let's introduce the repentant devil to the presiding deviless. When the deviless is not visibly impressed, the devil says, I brought a small gift, a trifle you might find of value. He produces from his satchel a 3-volume set bound in fire, his own work. Some methods for flavoring a soul to the taste of a particular judgment, she reads. She tosses the set on her desk. It huffs smoke. We're just a touch more modern now. It's a fine antiquarian piece, she adds unforgivably. We find those approaches rather cumbersome. Besides, we find we need to appeal to the original owners of the souls, offer them an experience worth paying for. Show how she's wrong. Interesting. He adjusts this mirror to reflect futures, adjusts that blade to cut off the sense of smell. He leaves the penitents howling. Before you go, one of the penitents approaches with a note. Someone was here looking for the devil. The note just didn't make its way through official channels. He's become more ambitious. I think that's everything I had regarding him. Can we speak further on this now? I need 3 panes of stained glass to assemble the devil's evidence. I think I only have 1 right now. Rebelling against the judgments. It was a waste, the repentant devil says. The protests, the peaceful fights, and the violent ones. We were never likely to win by those methods. You wait. Control what something consumes, he says, and you control what it is. The feeding of stars is a delicate art. I had spent centuries in cultivating, studying their palates, watching for evidence of their responsive growth. I had influence. Now how much can any devil say the same? Interesting. Right, 3 panes of stained glass, and we should be able to progress his plot line. She needs to go somewhere in Eleutheria, somewhere in Eleutheria, Eleutheria, the inconvenient aunt. What is this about St. Dunstan's? When I was a gal, I used to do a bit of spying for the crown. Now, I've been out of the trade for years, but I couldn't help but overhear an intriguing conversation. People rarely pay any attention to ladies of my age. She gives you a look, as though daring you to disagree. They said revolutionaries helped our government conquer Albion. They mentioned a secret rendezvous at St. Dunstan's between 4 representatives, a new sequencer, a revolutionary, and 2 members of Her Majesty's government. I have to get to the bottom of this. It is my duty. She tilts her chin defiantly. I have a friend at Port Prosper who owes me a favor, and we can get lunch. I believe that actually is the correct history, by and large. What else do they need? Petronella explains the situation while she empties the chambers of Cinder's Derringer for polishing. So that lieutenant what shipped us back at the critical juncture in return for a cushy position with the Windward Company, right? Yeah, Sarge gave him a number 2. Didn't know he was a bad un. Any road, the lieutenant's got a plum office at Port Prosper. We're gonna have to get in. Get his number, get out. Preferably doing him in on the way. Right? Port Prosper, very good. So we've got 2 calls up to Port Prosper later on. We're going to Lustrum and then up to Port Avon. I've left a claim going on Lustrum for quite some time. I'll have to see how that's operating. Might be properly miserable by now, those lads left on that plane for a god-awful long amount of time. What's that sound? Sputtering. I think that's a Ministry monitor firing its guns. But, like, way too often. Oh no, that's not a Ministry monitor, that's one of those fungal things. Doing battle with a Reach Marauder. I'll just let the terror build up. I was intrigued by this before. This is a wide open bit of sky to try and fight it in. These spores seem to have like a slight homing aspect to them. It's upped its firing rate a lot. I'm still tagging it just a little bit. Alright. It's definitely a pop. Now, what were you? A colonized cantankery, pulverized. A palpitating mycological mass of fractured chitinous legs, frilled gills, and ruptured polyps. Growth of livid fungus has engulfed a small herd of cantankery. Now, it's dying. The herd grumbles with one irritable, faltering voice. Let's see. Fossils or gemstones, carving your way through fungus. Try to render the fungus edible. Eating unprovenance celestial fungus is, of course, a ticket to madness, infection, or colorful death, but hopefully your cook can render it inert. Or I can destroy the remains. Destroying the remains is most likely to remove some terror. I'm going to go with that. There's not very much terror reduction. Got a sky story. Your guns thunder again and again until the conglomeration is pulverized. Your crew cheers like spectators at fireworks. Alright, I was hoping for more terror reduction than that. But oh well. Moving along. Let's get to Lustrum. Lustrum can do, yeah, fuel and supplies. Good. So that's what those things are. It's a colonized cantankery. Okay, slight angle up. That might be a guest over there in the east. The next time I run into a guest, I should actually probably try fighting it. The Hour of the Wolf, once again. Already your hand is on the bottle's neck. Terra's fallen, developing a taste for the bottle. I'm wondering when that's going to come back to bite us. Our long-developed taste for the bottle becoming too problematic at some point. You are just a Ministry monitor, yes? You're not going to burst out in tentacles and come after me? I don't know if the Ministry monitor can do that. I've seen other vessels that can. Both the Dreadnought version and the Tackety version. The Mother of Mountains. Now, I know I had something to deliver. Very good. Finishing up on munitions. 10 fortunes for the Tacketies and 5 reputation. That's quite the swing. Selling Chorister Nectar, I can get that without dealing with this. So the O'Brien factory is new. So this is the new thing they were crafting. To give up a lot of crew if I want that. I can donate bronzewood, or I can sabotage them with munitions, giving up a couple of crew. Left to their own devices, they will eventually succeed on their own. Let's go to our very own claim. Got a good amount of cargo space to collect our hull. Miners speak of a geode containing a whole century's worth of power, so big that it had to be dragged away by locomotive. Your crew have not found anything like that. Without a factory full of equipment, the most they can realistically hope for is a fine bounty of unseasoned hours. They sit in nervous silence as you examine their efforts. Nothing much to report, Captain. Ready to start loading up the barrels when you are. 6 barrels of hours. Handy. Each is encased with beeswax, or the closest available substitute to prevent any leakage. A stamp on the top marks them as officially approved by the Ministry, as long as nobody looks too closely at the finer detail. Very good. Get back to mining then. I don't need to recall the crew or anything like that. Is there anything else to do in the Prospector's quarters? Where do we go for... Wind whistles through the mountain's caves, promising good luck to the miners below. Alright, we'll join the celebration. Cheers rise to the mountain and its bounty of hours until the soft panpipe sounds fade and the back-breaking work of mining must begin again. After another drink or two, of course. Something to ward off the chill of the cold mountain slopes. Quick port report. I think there's something else to sample at Murgatroyd's. Lovely cup of tea. Indulgence blend, straight from the Blue Kingdom. A tea for the true connoisseur. It tastes of dust swept from the darkest corner of a sepulchre. It is best served with a drop of milk, ideally on the very edge of turning. You sip gently. Between sips, a bite of a sugared biscuit to take away the edge. All right. Does she have anything more to say? Not quite. I've already sampled all 3 varieties of tea. This is still a very difficult thing to do. Some matter for another captain. That's not active because they haven't been pushed out. So I think that's all of our business in Lustrum. Unless we need more fuel and supplies. I won't say no to more fuel and supplies right now. We could pick up more Chorister Nectar. But I'm already a bit laden down with these hours, crockery. Well, you know what? Always, always, always gather more resources when you can, cheaply. We're out to Port Avon now. And that gives us a question. Do we go through the desolation of Saliba or by the grave of the Silent Saint? They're both pretty bad options. I'm going to go up through the desolation, because I believe that's likely to encounter at least one Scribe Spinster, and I need a Scribe Spinster's pen. Which is not the kind of circumstances I thought I would be working against quite some time ago. Not a few hours to drill. Let's go for it. Overheated a bit, that shot. Ruins lifted by the hands of giants. Only barely land a hit, that's fine. Still counts, doesn't it? Excellent. That rock gave me excellent cover. Take the Spinster's pen. For science! Okay. Now let's get back through some of these ruins, because this entire area is quite the horror, isn't it? Correspondence, sigils, and all that. But we're making our way to Port Avon next, so that should help us recover a good bit. Still a fairly uncouth area. I'm not certain where the landing port is there, or what you can gain. When I first played through the game, the horrors weren't interactable after all. No, thank you. Want to try me again? Seems we're through. True enough. Oh, I suppose not then. Ouch. Don't like fighting you while you're off screen. Come back. Devilish little thing. There we go. I'll carve you up for that. Oh, it didn't go well. Just a bit of sovereigns for all that trouble. It'll pay for repairs. I can get the cheap repairs at Port Avon. I was worried that thing would spurt open with a bunch of tendrils and make me set down my coffee uncomfortably quickly. The Bonnie Shepherds. Refuse? What do we have here? Crockery. We can explore these now. A celestial ruin. Trade visions of heavens for a moment of inspiration and some experience. That is excellent. The inscriptions are written in the language of the suns. You decipher what you can. They hint at a number of feuding solar alliances, or conjunctions. Each conjunction upholds a different philosophy, as obtuse and fiery as the stars themselves. A saying gear really is a step above. This would be one of the relays on the Isambard. ledger. I will leave. It's like another one of those colonized cantankerite nests. The last one was very, very annoying to break apart and take down just because of the raw health it had. And it wasn't very rewarding, so I'm just going to move along. It seems to be following me. Also, we've awoken a bull cantankerite. Maybe it'll just get bundled up with the others. That one was easy. Let's see. I'll listen to its last complaint. Experience the sky story. Green, unlikely scent of apples. Running into 2 sets of colonized cantankerite, there's definitely... The spawn rates here, I think, are a little tilted from before. Mr. Menagerie is here. There's an opportunity. Use a quiet day for cheap repairs. At the bazaar, I'll make good on crockery, aiding the stovepipes. We'll take advantage of these souls. On the trail of the quixotic squire. The squire's house clings to a lonely skyrock drifting above the village, but it is in an obvious disuse, its roof caved and its windows boarded. Signum tuts. Typical. You are not so easily deterred. Someone here will know what became of the squire. I'm sorry, the vicar says. The squire passed away several years ago. Signum frowns. You were younger than me. Sad circumstances. His wife had contracted an unusual illness. Here. He taps the glass lens of his spectacles. There was no recovery. The squire had an hour loom constructed in his cellar and spent the remainder of his wealth on hours, which he used to draw out the last of their time together. While months passed on for us and for her, years passed for him at her sickbed. When she passed, he had used up what was left of his own time, too. In the mouth of a Briton, a tut can be scathing or sympathetic. This one, you hope, is mournful. It says, the world is a terrible place. We do what we must to endure it. The vicar gives you a bolstering smile. The signalman puts his tea down. We're none of us good at letting go, are we, vicar? No, the vicar answers. It's not surprising. After all, is there any question more terrifying than what comes next? You depart. The signalman is wrapped in thought. Are we wearing out our welcome? Write a port report. I'll share some gossip. Got 5 welcome, that's decent. Is there anything more at the inn? Not particularly. I can bum around at the ruins, or I can remove some terror at the village green, but I don't have much else to do here. A few relaxing strolls. The terror reduction here is fairly slow. The allotments. Ooh, an uncanny specimen. Let's call them carrots. I've done that once before. Already read through that bit. All right. What's our next order of business? Can I speak further with the fatalistic signalman? Rouse him from his gloom. Ministry-approved literature? Other persons needed to go up to Port Prosper. I have a little bit of business at the Trader's Wood. I think then let's stop in up at the Trader's Wood. Buy supplies there, exports of bronze wood. I might need to do that. If I'm getting exports of bronze wood, it wouldn't be immediately. Should I go up to the Trader's Wood or back to New Winchester? I think I need to go back to New Winchester and deposit things out of this hold. Carrying a lot of hours. Let me do that. I think I'm going to go back to New Winchester. I'll progress the Fatalistic Signalments plotline, because I have plenty of literature. Then I will go up to the Trader's Wood and see if I can progress that plotline. Searching in the woods. Afterwards, I think we'll make a quick pass through Magdalene's to resolve any lingering terror, and then go up to Port Prosper for 2 storylines related to that. Afterwards, it will be back to New Winchester, and then probably Eleutheria. Unless some other opportunities might lead me somewhere else. I gotta keep making good on opportunities. There we go. Bronzewood for Port Avon. Nectar for Carillon. 5 quarts of Chorister Nectar. That's very profitable. So we're gonna make a detour to do that. I'll bring on a little bit more crew at Woolsey. Just to make good on that. Well, this is singularly out of the way from my previous intent. This is a good opportunity. This is the kind of thing that I just make a trip to do just this, and it's fine. Is the sell rate of Chorister Nectar when it's being made as an opportunity is like 200. It's ridiculous. Maybe it's 120 and I'm misremembering, but still. I'm just going to take care of this quickly and go back to Winchester after. Now, I could have carried a few souls to Carillon while I was at it, and traded those for indulgences to progress Carillon plotlines. I don't know how much I care about that. Those Carillon plotlines are very good for experience on a novice captain. It's also the better you are at mitigating terror, the more you can get out of it, which is very nice. Oh yeah, certainly. Yeah, you can do wealth just by running prospects back and forth and nothing else. It does slow down a bit. Because generally speaking, the first time you get to every... the first few times you visit every individual port, there's more profit to be had. And you want to be taking advantage of that. Contemplate the statue. Terror reduction. At the bazaar, supply... Yeah, 240 per lot. It's insane. Otherworldly artifact, a bit of that. I don't care about stocking up on verdant seeds. They don't turn around for enough money for me to bother going out of my way for. Carolyn's foyer that I would have the option of compiling a port report if I had actually turned in my port reports earlier, which I didn't do because I didn't quite care to. Get out of here. There we go. Done with that. Moving right along. I almost forgot, I withdrew the materials so I could have a chat with the signaler. Rouse him from his gloom. You leave a slim set of approved signaling manuals, stamped by the Ministry of Public Decency, on the galley table. Discovering them, the signalman flicks sulkily through. First he tuts, then he snorts, then scoffs. Look at this. They've classified all Scornfluke spasms as displays of bravado. And here, they've not distinguished between the red chevron flags of Port Prosper and those at Lustrum. That'll get someone killed. Oh no. If only there was a better resource to educate young signalers. He fumes. I have to do bloody everything, don't I? Fine. Where's my pen? He storms to his cabin. A moment later, he storms out again. I've been away too long. I'd better check on the signal boxes. No one will have done that neither. He's back. The battered signal box near the Mother of Mountains, overgrown near the nature reserve, scorched in the vicinity of Port Prosper, and the spidered in the vicinity of Trader's Wood. Now that is quite the objective. The 4 Isambard-lined signal boxes. One of them's near the nature reserve. That's probably going to be the last one I get around to at this rate. One at the Mother of Mountains is also going to be obnoxious. Actually, wait, no, that's it down there. Let me go do that first. So it would be 1, 2, 3... I think that's the 4th. That one's annoying. I think those are the ones being referenced. They're not actually very close to the locations that are referenced, but they're landmarks in and of themselves. So you only have to find them the once. I think they're just regional. Oh, a wreck. I'll come back to that in a moment. The latch is broken, allowing the signal box door to bang in the wind. I won't be long, he promises, if you don't mind waiting. Inside, skeletal leaves are scattered across the floor. Locating a broom, the signalman sweeps it clear. Then he turns his attention to the door. Repairing it is an awkward job for one pair of hands, so you lend him yours. The 2 of you work in easy silence, one holding while the other hammers, one measuring while the other trims. When you've rehung the door, it swings easily on its freshly oiled hinges, the latch dropping firmly into place. Good job well done, he says, as if that's thanks enough. Shutting the door carefully behind him, he hops back onto your locomotive. Didn't mean to do that. Cash is depleted. Well, that's fine. I don't mean to obligate myself to replenishing these caches anyway. I think if you don't replenish the caches, you might come in... You might invoke the ire of the Waste Waif or something like that. I think she's the personable one, so to speak. Oh, another one of these things? Oh, hopefully it's not too on the way. If it's off to the side, we're fine. Donnie. Donnie? Not sure which. Mourn the dead. Alright. Probably a stop by New Winchester, although it's... could be either way. I don't actually need to stop at New Winchester for much. Let's see, the one near the reserve, I think might be this one over here, in that little alcove. I might want to go by there on my way out to Hybris if I'm going out somewhere else. I don't know. I should make it the last one I check. I don't need to go back to Port Avon. So it's going to be New Winchester, Trader's Wood, Port Prosper. Yeah, that sounds correct. So I'm going to gather a lot of fuel and supplies here in New Winchester so that I can try an actual expedition out in Trader's Wood. This time through, if I get about 4 failures, I'm going to turn around. Let's see, got the Montresor Chamber. It only gives 4 quarters, but gives more hold. I could go with less hold and more chambers by replacing this with the one that gives plus 6 quarters. It's only another 2 people on the ship either way. I'm not really moved to tears by the difference. It would make me a little better off in terms of, you know, possibly losing 10 people in the Trader's Wood. Certainly happens from time to time. Okay, I don't think I had anything left in the bank. Or left to bank. No, we're good on that. So then, Victoria Market. There. So, I think it might be the one south of Port Avon that I need to check. Well, that's one of the spots I need to go to. So we'll do that. And then we're off to the Trader's Wood. I need a certain clipping from the Trader's Wood. And I need to run an expedition there. And then it's up to Port Prosper. But I don't need to run an expedition there, but there's a lot to be gained by successfully running an expedition there. Heck, I could be running expeditions from Bronzewood. I guess I hadn't gone close enough to that place. Probably because it doesn't line up with much. These guys drift in some strange patterns. Old stones and forgotten ruins. It makes you wonder what Albion once was, that there is such a semblance of construction around here. Something very old indeed. Spidered signal box. He brushes away the worst of the cobwebs and removes several spiders using a jam jar he keeps in a drawer for this exact purpose. This place will be the death of me, he mutters. He brews you a cup of tea in a battered old kettle on a battered old stove. Then he tips it away and brews you another one that doesn't have boiled spiders in it. Examining the Skyfarer's cash and the accompanying ledger, he tuts. Someone's taken out without giving back. Stupid. Sooner or later, the burrower will get their scent. Anyway, finish your tea. You return to your locomotive. Ah, it's the burrower you anger if you don't refill things. Came in a little hot on that one. It's alright. I am actually very actively considering ramping up my income with ill-gotten gains. I have to go back to London to consult with them over that. I enabled the smuggling of red honey. I got started on that storyline. I might want to go back to the Royal Society to get access to the hidden compartment, if I really want to make use of that. Okay. Don't really care to dock at Port Avon. We're up to Trader's Wood. I think I forgot to check for new opportunities while I was back in New Winchester. Indeed, I did. Although when you complete them as quickly as that run to Carillon, you won't get anything new for a while. I believe it's once every 2 weeks that new opportunities pop in. Might be once every 30 days, actually. Yeah, that makes sense. It seems like they've got a noteworthy forward gun, but not much else, so it might be easy to blast them apart from the side, since they don't have a swivel gun. Lots of sky to cross. Should probably be using the auto fly. Rip it. There we go. And we're docked at Somerset Camp. Tea for sale. Everyone likes tea. Please, buy tea. Think about it in a moment. Expeditions. We prepare for a large one. Let's go. Going to go to the Barrows of Silence. Voices. Search for another route. It was that simple. 2 successful checks and we're there. I lost 10 men on this. The barrows smell of leaf mold and decay. Some are so old they've sunken and are barely distinguishable from the rest of the grass-covered ground. Your crew shiver as you walk past the mounds into the blasted circle at their center. A wind whips past you, blowing up dust. A bird overhead calls out. Its cry is cut short. A deep depression sits at the center of the circle, surrounded by smoldering sigils of the correspondence. The sigils, scored into the barrow's earth, smolder. The incandescent language is searing. A command burns your marrow. Here, you will be silent. I will gag myself. I will gag my crew. Your gagged crew quality is now 1. Further in. Wind gusts across the graves, setting stones rolling from the barrows. Your crew huddle close as you advance into the center of the circle. Below your feet, correspondent sigils flare like dying fireflies. Even now, the letters of heaven sear the air. The entrances to the barrows have been filled with piles of rock. They are stopped with slate and shale. Beneath your feet, the correspondence is incandescent. We have raised you up, and so shall we cast you down. Approach the hole at the center of the barrow circle, or open the barrows. I feel as though if I approach a hole, I might be cast down. Seems like a thing. Let's see. Our power shared, our gift given, our law defied. The hole is partially clogged with ash, but you can see a gleam at the bottom. Something gold glistens down there. The sigils around the lip of the hole burn comprehension into you. Privilege of stewardship abused. Fury and pain and betrayal racks your ligaments. Your hands shake as you pluck the golden seal from its dim tomb. The entrances to the barrows have been filled with piles of rock. Yeah, you have the last seal. Be away from this quiet place. Your crew are glad to be away and hurry after you, away from the looming silence of the barrows. You have the third seal for the gate. The scholars in their camp will know what to do next. Let's consult them on opening the gate. The scholars are waiting eagerly for your return, though they affect otherwise. The vituperative classicist arrives first. Well? The others hurry behind her, their expressions repetitions of her question. You explain all you can. A servant thrown down, the theologian concludes, for dreadful overreach. It is not my king in the barrow, then, the paleographer says mournfully. Only a retainer. We don't know that, the classicist replies, though it's a reasonable supposition. She turns to you. Take me with you. Let's open this wretched grave. The theologian immediately volunteers himself as an alternative. You only take one scholar with you. You will need an interpreter, and the scholars will not work together. I will take the one who is most certainly wrong. The one least married to pre-conclusion. The dismal paleographer gasps. Me? But why not? He glances at the others, then draws himself up. Well, why not? I'll get my things. The theologian approaches you. Please be careful. I wouldn't want anything to happen to him. The paleographer returns with a heavy bag. Shall we be off? You will need to find the regent's grave in your locomotive to continue. All right. We'll have to go to the regent's grave then. Bit of rest before we go. The place is terrifying from what I can recall. At the parting glaive, find a mandrake. Acquired. All right, a port report. Always good to get that done. I'll buy some cheap tea. It's a good bargain. I think that's all we have to do here. Right then. Deeper into the Trader's Wood. I haven't been this way yet. I believe it's this way that we'll have to go. Partner eels. Captain, there's good eating on a partner eel. That's true. I think of it as being a cheaper ship for London, and that's the what's special about it. I think I might actually need to go back this other way. Look south, on my way deeper into the wood. Past the deep wood, as it were. Oh, hello there. Not much of you left then, is there? There we go. That one was seemingly too nervous to fire a shot. Check the captain's cabin. Bit of gossip. Okay, so it is past the Somerset camp either way. Counterclockwise turn, though. In we go. Almost on cue with the scribe spinster there. Oh, and one of these things. Pretty sure I can outrun all of those little hopping bits. Ah, he barely collided with me. Always find an uncanny specimen when they lose crew. I think I can get away with this. Okay, and we've got a lot of bees. We might find what we're looking for. There's an awful sort of groaning noise around here. That horror should be my goal. Distant roar of waterfalls plunging from the sky to unseen depths. Falls cascade through the sky, alight with all the hues of heaven. Regent's Tears. It's kind of a wondrous little space. Get me some chorister nectar, thank you. What have we here? The Regent's Tears. It is said that the lakes at the top of the Regent's Tears have curative properties. This rumor goes largely unconfirmed. The ground by the lakes is too boggy to land a locomotive. Instead, you must land on a sharp, slippery ledge lower down the falls. The walk up will be punishing. A hooded woman, half concealed in the spray, waits by the waterfall. You're here for the Regent's Lakes? She has a thick London accent. The woman leaps from ledge to foothold. She's sure-footed, apparently oblivious to the thundering roar of the waterfalls. It is treacherous work to keep up with her. When you finally reach the top, you help each other over the edge. Only now can you see that she is crying. She has wept endlessly for years. The tears running down grooves in her cheeks that have been worn there by the constant weeping. She gestures toward the water. Welcome. May the Regent's Lakes nourish you. The view from the top of the Tears is dizzying. The forest is so large and you are so high that all perspective is lost. Only your locomotive, small as a matchbox, breaks the illusion of mossy meadow inches from your feet. You step back from the drop and turn to the lake. It is huge. You cannot make out any details in its far shore. Steam rises sluggishly from the surface. The water is warm. To be heard over the sound of the falls, you must move close to the youth. He has been weeping. He is frank as to the cause of his sorrow, the Winchester War. He speaks of his constant fortune, to survive skirmishes that have slaughtered his friends. Fortune, he repeats sourly. Interesting. 10,000 streams. Okay. It's considered a bit of a wonder, this place back here. I think we got some terror reduction for cruising by. Oh. Ouch. I was actually being kind of pulled southwards. Huh. What are we gonna do about that? Storm that speaks just kind of hanging out there, isn't it? I mean, it's still there. It occupies an absolute ton of space. Oh, that's pretty cool. Alright, I'm gonna make a loop around. Probably come back when the storm that speaks is not hanging out over here. That sucks. This is a lot of distance to cover. See what we can do. I haven't been back here either. Not verdant fungus. Harvest some lichen as fuel. Not sure how long I'll be out here. That would be very useful if I had that at the ready. I was thinking of taking some time to blast that apart, but I don't really want to be sitting back here for the amount of time it takes to blow up one of those things. More fungal stuff. Oh! That's an important wreck. Approaching the Parsifal. The engine drifts unhappily through the sky. Its hull has been split by an eruption of corpse-white fungus from the inside. The name Parsifal can be made out in brass letters on its side. First engine through the avid horizon, the navigator whispers. London's pride. She was captained by Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe, and her mission was to chart new horizons beyond Albion. She never came back. Bolt cutters and pry bars are required to break the outer doors. Its locking mechanism is antiquated and slickened with an oily substance. You wrench the door open and are immediately greeted with a cloud of yellowing spores. Your vision blurs just as your navigator torches them, igniting the air with burning fungus. A few gas lights flicker on the walls. The scratchy sound of a gramophone can be heard. Spores drift through broken carriages like dying fireflies. Recruitment posters bearing Her Renewed Majesty's face molder on the walls. Music, scratchy but distinct, echoes through the empty carriages. A great wall of pulsing fungus separates the back of the engine from the front. Captain's cabin. Plush seats surround a decaying paper map placed on a mahogany table. Drinks, some floating with mildew, have been poured in glasses around the table. Maps hang from sprouting fronds like peeling wallpaper. Spores float gently through the room. Logbooks lie scattered around the table. None date from after 1897. The engine's destination was to be Trader's Wood.
The last entry regards a stop at Hybris, which they named Hybrisil. Something was brought on board. The captain's bunk has collapsed in a pile of rotten wood and infected bedsheets, wet with fungal growths. The armory. The solid iron walls of the armory are stained and rotted with sporing bodies. Lockers hang open, revealing decaying and antiquated skysuits. The old design, with thermal chest plate, brass buttons for fastenings. Several of your crew coo appreciatively, back away when the prodding of one suit reveals a fruiting colony of golden black mushrooms has sprouted within. Amongst the outdated and unused weaponry, you uncover a trove of novels, fanciful stuff, all concerned with the possibilities of space travel and the interaction between modern man and the alien. Let's try to breach the fungus. Sabers serve to hack away the plump, bulging intrusions. It peels away like flesh carved from a roasted pig. The smell is considerably worse, however. The work is slow going. These twitching sheaths of fungus are of enormous size and depth. An American stoker remembers the redwood trees of his youth. Eventually, enough of a path is cleared to allow you to progress. It's a tight squeeze between the walls of livid flesh, allowing you to see the bulges within up close. Bulges the same shape and size as you, and then you're through. Yeah, Americans too could travel to the Neath before we went to the stars. Front of the engine is even more infected with sprouting mushrooms and sporing fungal growths. The engine room lies ahead, seemingly the source of the persistent movement. Before that, however, is a haze of spores rendering the corridor ahead entirely noxious. The sounds of the gramophone are louder here. Battered metal and tormented wood paneling comprise the confines in which crew dwelled. Chubby toadstools, round as pastries, dot the cramped bunk beds. Mementos of home are scattered about the fruiting debris. Slim volumes of Arnold and Blake, vials of honey, and engravings of simple domestic scenes can be found under every bunk. You also uncover a little tally chart on a folded-up bit of paper. It seems the crew were organizing a whip round for their commander's retirement present. They'd settled on a plot of land on Port Prosper. We're going to pick up a lot of terror doing this stuff. You go alone. Your crew disappear behind you, lost in a haze of orange and gold. Above, sacks of sporing fungus encrusted to the metalwork begin to erupt. Showers of spore and viscous liquids render the terrain still more hazardous. You feel a peculiar sensation. Your hands tingle, as though wishing to reach out, touch the fungus, as though for one more drink. You increase your speed. There's a cry behind you. You turn to see one of your crew. A particularly distractible signaler has entered the miasma after you. Her hands are in a mound of virulent gold fungus. Then, so is the rest of her. The scene is lost to another shower of spores. You press on towards the engine room. As you approach, you notice the damage done to the walls, riddled with bullets, old stains of the carpet. An attack was mounted on the engine room. You can hear music loud and clear from inside. An eerie green light pours through the hinges like flood water. You push open the door. You've entered the engine room of the Parsifal. May God have mercy on your soul. The engine room is cold as a sunless sky. Your breath hangs in long chains before you. The boiler is off. The infernal gramophone sits atop the boiler. The music is no better for being closer to it. Before you lies a dance macabre of fungus and corpses, hand in frond. On the wall, suspended by fungus, is a body in a captain's uniform. What happened here? The corpses bear bullet wounds. They are unmarred by fungus, decaying in peace. Amongst the rank insignia, you spot a first officer, a chief engineer, and a conductor. All died violent deaths. There are far too few to amount to the full crew. The boiler, a battered, antiquated, wheezing contraption, stands silent and broken. Strips of iron hang in front of it, as though it had suffered an explosion. Inside, you find fungus amidst the ashes, clumps and clusters of tendrils that sprout from the charcoal. When burnt, the spores would have infected the whole engine. The corpse of the finest officer of his generation hangs from the wall, suspended by loops of pale fronds. His skin is sallow, and strands of golden fungus crawl beneath it. His eyes open. Percy Blythe looks down on you. Blue fruiting mushrooms speckle his beard. Next to him, the gramophone crackles out dreary anthems of years past. His mouth opens too wide as he speaks. His jaw cracks. Somehow, he is alive. He groans. His mouth opens impossibly wide, and a cloud of yellow spores emerge. I am all that's left. An oily liquid begins to drip from his left eye. I am a child of the grave garden. The voice alters, becoming more clipped, more static, like that of the voices on the gramophone. I am Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe, Captain of the Parsifal. My task was to explore the wilderness and return home with new discoveries. He groans as though weeping. I am all that remains. I want to go home. What happened here? We met the children on Hybris. We sought to know each other, wanted to go to the wood, wanted to see what was kept from us. Percy is drooling as he speaks. The gramophone clicks as yet another patriotic dirge begins to play. Percy Blythe struggles in his bonds, pulling himself up to stand a little straighter. We made contact on Hybris. The fungus was so bright, so beautiful. His eyes shine gold. I brought it aboard. God forgive me. I wanted the crew to see, to know. Oil leaks from those hollow eyes. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Some came willing. Others refused to join us. We had to. He breaks off into silence, staring away into the middle distance. What happened to him? Percy Blythe launches into a long, meandering, slurred story of children and gardens, of a cruel king who needed but did not love his subjects despite their love for him, of knowledge denied and growth checked, of tyranny and freedom, of grief and betrayal and longing. The music bursts into sudden life. Percy jerks and fixes you with an infected eye. I was stupid. I thought we would be welcome here. And we were. We were welcome. We were loved. The children, the verdants, they wanted us. He begins to sob. It is a sad, squelching sound. I'm going to keep away from him. The oily burbling goes on for some time. Lieutenant Commander becomes rapidly incoherent. Sometimes he weeps for Mother, other times for London. He believes himself disgraced twice over. Eventually, the embarrassing affair comes to a stop as Percy Blythe is left blowing clouds of spores from his mouth, his eyes vacant. What does he want? Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe lets out a low moan and slumps forward. Chains of fungus adjust to accommodate this despair. He slurs like a drunk man demanding another drink. On Hybris, Mother spored us there. She set out her children across the stars to learn. Traitors would. We were forbidden from entering there, but now its king is dead. This craft failed before we could arrive. The body jerks as though shocked. Percy's face rises to face you. London, he rasps. London. There are two beings here. There's Percy, and there's the thing inside of him. The thing inside of him wants to go home to Hybris. Percy wants to go to London. Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe, decorated hero of London's forces, first captain through the avid horizon, gazes at you, slack-jawed and unseeing. Please, he rasps, take me home, or finish this. He twitches. He just wanted to know what was kept from us in Traitor's Wood. Why did our king not love his children? I'm going to take him to the Traitor's Wood. The remnant of Percy Blythe does not appear to register your response. His head bobs with the tilting of the locomotive. You begin cutting the body down. It is a task only made more difficult by the discovery that most of the far wall is, in fact, a rubbery sort of mushroom, whose weak yellow flesh is entirely embedded in Blythe's back. You're forced to cut down a whole section of the wall, exposing the metal shell of the Parsifal, and carry Blythe out upon it. On board your engine, he mutters and twitches, as though diminished by the separation. You leave the Parsifal drifting alone in the sky. Right, there's that. So, back to the Traitors Wood we go, theoretically. Maybe, if this is actually an open bit of sky, maybe I can work my way around, the storm that speaks. It's quite the inconvenient little guy. At least I believe this to be the storm that speaks that appears occasionally. I don't know if it's, for instance, some other unnamed storm. I think I can skirt past this. Oh no, this is just the candle wind. It's unpleasant, but it's not like, you know, whirling death. It's gonna drain a lot of supply. And build a lot of terror. Flying against this is very unpleasant. But we've got the supply to spare to do this. Flying against the candle wind to go visit another horror is not a great set of circumstances. A bit of bronze wood here. The heart of the wood, silent and solemn. The Regent's grave. You have the 3 seals and a translator. You will discover what was entombed here. Before fitting the seals into the gate, the scholar examines the correspondence markings on them. Something about to be used for visitation, and a reminder to not visit unless in direst need. Your scholar translates, plainly baffled. Each seal fits a particular depression in the gate. In goes silver, then bronze, then gold. As you place the final seal into the metal, the gate swings inward of its own accord. A long stair, vastly wide, descends downward into the gloom. Below, a wind howls with all the ferocity of a starving wolf. At the foot of the stair is a burial chamber fathoms high. Hanging from the roof is a skeleton. The bones are the size of locomotives, the skull palatial. Red correspondence sigils are branded on the bones. The trisected skull's mouth is sealed shut with chorister wax. The sigil on its jawbone means to have gone further than one should, the scholar whispers. Standing well back, you order your crew to light a fire below the skull's mouth. Soon the wax is congealing and dripping in long, slow splashes onto the tomb floor. The heat in the chamber rises. Dashes of wax begin to fall in heavy drops from the mouth of the skull. The wind rises to a frenzy. The last of the wax melts. The skull's jaw hangs open, and correspondence sigils begin to appear in the walls of the tomb. The cavern lights in fierce incandescence as the traitor spits furious correspondence. Your scholar struggles to keep up as they translate the sigils on the spot. The scholar translates. The servant was given a task. They mean to complete it, but they have no body. They mean to chain the wood. No, tame it. They are the tamer. They overstepped when they gave voice to the voiceless. They want to undo their error. The scholar falls silent. Sorry, what? Their eyes widen. They want one of us to help them. For a year and a day. I'll explain that the judgment of the Reach has perished. The scholar struggles to convey your statement, but the tamer appears to understand. Correspondence flashes like lightning. Ah, I know this. A duty magnified, the rights due to the dead. The scholar pauses. Chain of being, the obligations thereof. I don't know this last one. I think it might just be grief. I have done this before on a prior captain, but when I did it before, I allowed the scholar to fulfill the task. This time, I'm going to do it myself. The paleographer gives you a brisk handshake before stepping back, bowing his head in respect. The wind whirls around you, gathering in strength. You open your mouth to speak, and a gust blows in, filling your lungs more than possible. Your chest strains, your teeth rattle, and your skull aches as though set upon with hammers. And then it all calms. Just a whisper remains deep in your skull. It tells you where to go and how to begin. Sounds like we've got another one of those fungal things here. And a scribe spinster. And it looks like there's probably another hunk of bronze wood. If I can get at it without too much trouble. Oh no, it's just some random supplies. That's fine though. I could use something. Ouch. One down. Bit of repairs. Yep. I'm back in the Reach. I was out in Albion for a bit, but I've just picked up... I just got through the Regent's Grave, so I'm making my way back to the Trader's Wood to complete that little tale. I've also just come back from the wreck of the Parsifal. Most excellent. Can I think, yes, I can't make, I can't use either of these opportunities right now since I've been here somewhat recently. Well. Good ways to go. Oh, it's delightful. I can't recall how I interacted with it the last time. I had played the game once before, and I started a legacy a couple of weeks ago. This run is perhaps 20 hours in? Outbreak of the heart sickness again. Compulsory knees up, come on. Get happy. Just a little bit happier. Alright, there we go. With this much terror, I wouldn't mind converting to some nightmares, given that I don't have any right now. I have a moment of inspiration for Magdalene's if I actually need to remove terror. Cantankery. Got a couple of these. No problem. Nectar, please. Thank you. I think the fate of the Parsifal is a bit more macabre than my favorite stories. That's true, that's true. It's difficult to jump in. I've only got the first 4 sessions I've played up on YouTube, and that's a lot to go through. I think I can take out this spinster without too much trouble. Excuse you. Currently, I'm going for the ambition of wealth. What's this? A sudden jolt. I think we hit something, Captain. Your driver observes. The mists are thick. You could turn back and search for it. Let's see. I can get more fuel at the Somerset camp. No, I can't get more fuel at the Somerset camp. So we're not giving up fuel. Let's accept some nightmares. I think it will be, but for the first run of a legacy, I wanted to go for something simple. Oh, overheated. Might take a good crack for this. Yeah, that'll hit me square. Right now, I'm mostly trying to ensure that I've gotten through a good number of... Don't shoot me! My god, man. I'm trying to make sure I get through a good number of, officer stories before going for retirement. Yes, bronzewood.
I'm not... I think I'll probably go for truth next. I've done... What's it called? I have done the Song of the Sky on a previous captain. It's not part of this same legacy. Although this legacy is actually just one captain long right now. Yeah, I'm trying to just amass a lot of stuff. Well, anyways. We'll buy this. I'm not certain how much it's going to count. Let's take a moment at the wood's edge. So then, I'll first drop off Percy Blythe. His eyes are golden as though reflecting sunlight. His handshake is weak, and his voice rasps. His periods of lucidity have been intermittent and fewer by the day. He's alert now. Captain, a reward. My medallions. He fumbles at his breast to unpin his stained medals. You are compelled to assist. He clutches your hand before turning to face the darkening wood. At last, we will know. A tremor passes through his body. I should not be here. I should not have been kept from here. No, that's still the fungal voice. Oh well. He walks slowly into the pale wood. The trees bow as he passes, as though to embrace him. He does not look back. Percy Blythe is gone. Now then. Service of a year and a day. The tamer, whispering in the dark places behind your eyes, guides you through the vast acres of Trader's Wood. She bids you put down the gun and take up the hoe, the axe, the scythe. Glades are pruned of whispering wildflowers, pleading trees carved down, babbling streams brooked and broken. Some groves are watered, others blooded. Not all voices are quieted, the wood is fast, but the wood is more silent from your passage. And then, at last, your time is done. Quiet as a last breath, the tamer slips from you. Your mind is silent again. You go to the station and wait for the officers appointed with minding your engine to return with what of your crew stayed. Not all is as you remembered. Things have changed in your absence. 2,000 experience, 1 searing enigma, lost 50 strength of the sun. Stovepipes are down to 25, Tackities is up to... Oh, stovepipes are all the way down to 25, Tackities are all the way up to 75, and lost 4 crew. That's a big exchange. That was almost the other way around before. Well then. Wood for the hull, please. Nothing else to do in terms of expeditions, right? Well, we could do expeditions from Bronzewood alike. Okay. I have dropped off Coffin Friend at Albion quite a while ago. They have fuel at Magdalene's. They do. I'll make on to Magdalene's and then for Port Prosper. I was supporting the stovepipes, but only kind of passively. I haven't been shooting down either kind of vessel. I've just dropping off my port reports with the stovepipes for quite a while. I was doing it specifically so that I could get invitations to Perdurance, which enabled me to get the Macabre Counselor's daughter out of there, as well as to pick up the rat who was kept as a pet from the Ratus Brigade. The Rat Brigade. Blech. Oh. You wanna cause trouble? You wanna cause trouble. Casual barrage. Is that enough? You done? You're not done. Little off. One more. There we go. That is not worth my time. Yeah, the black box was dropped off in London. I'm trying to think of other major things we've done. We completed the story for the Incautious Driver. And I actually need to go up to this spot here, Addison Wick, on behalf of the Fatalistic Signalman. There should be only that and one other spot on the Isambard line that he wants to check out. Oh, thank you for the follow. Hope to have you along. I do still need to get
I think the 5th session is due to be put up on YouTube. And I'll get that done a little later. I've been trying to play at least twice a week to keep up with it. Because if you fall out of it, if you get out of the habit, it's difficult to keep up with. Let's see. Oh, an old journal. That's different. I haven't had this option before, or at least not in a long time. What is this? Is this just a... Oh, it's not worthwhile. I was hoping for an unlicensed chart they've offered before. Jumbles of souls. Stocked. I need a port report. Well, I don't need one, but let's grab one. Anything else going on? Nothing else has changed. I've already finished up the plot lines for this. Let's see. All I need to do, moving along. So, back up to Addison's Wick. And then I'll be going to Port Prosper. Yes, I haven't been to Blue Kingdom or Eleutheria. And actually, I haven't been there on any captain ever. And I've never gotten that far in the game. Most of what I was playing was shortly after the game's release. I think I tried to I stepped away from it, and I tried to sit back down shortly after they had released the expansion that made Horrors and Wonders have interaction points. And unfortunately, I stepped right back to that and got a captain killed in short order. And then I stepped away from it for a longer period. I came back to it only a few weeks ago. Trying for a cage catch takes hold space. I don't have any right now. Just be glad with the hours I drilled. Let's see. I do have some business back in London, but not a lot of business back in London. Yeah, I really think it would have to be onto Eleutheria, because the only thing I can do that's new in London is basically to start smuggling. Also, if I was concerned about the strength of the Clockwork Sun, I might want to go there. And I'm not certain if I am concerned about that or not. I had done quite a bit of work. That strength was at 100. Deposit the signalman. Some idiot left a candle burning here a year or so ago. Fire made a right mess before the Peacock Wind smothered it. Then marauders started using the old girl for target practice. He pats the wall sympathetically. Took me a month to fix her up again. I've never got rid of the smell. He gives the signal box a good airing, opening the windows and letting the biting wind blow through. Shivering, he flicks through the ledger attached to the Skyfarer's cache and gives a satisfied nod. Before he leaves, he shuts the windows and blows out the lamp. Can't be too careful. Read the ledger. A few sky stories. Moving along. I was sticking around longer to read through more of these the first time I encountered them early in the run. Right now I'm just trying to accomplish things to get to the major beats, but that's kind of the way the game goes either way. Showing up while I'm at my coffee, that's very rude, you know. This combat's going well. There we go. Do you have bronzewood for me? Yes. I'm actually holding a bit of that now, aren't I? Why am I carrying these 5 caddies of tea? I feel like I'm carrying caddies of tea because there was an opportunity to drop off caddies of tea that I didn't click on. I'm best at mirrors. My next best attribute is veils. My worst attribute is hearts. And that's a bit of a, what's it called? I think that's a bit of happenstance, because my actual worst skill is irons, but a lot of my officers are giving me benefits to irons. The, I think it's plus 10 irons from the judicious driver is quite a swing. The Kingston's Cake. Where are we going? Supplies, munitions, crew quarters. Fuel. Munitions. Yeah, I think mirrors is usually far and away one of the most appealing things. Oh, the Peacock Wind. Let's make sure we don't crash into anything. That really kicked up all of a sudden. Don't crash, don't crash. There we go. I'm not certain if in Skies you get the passive effects on your vessel for having the attributes, or if they only matter for skill checks. Do you know if you still get things like turning radius for having high veils? Back in Seas, I remember that was irreplaceable. Like, you could just get a modicum of veils and you were able to outmaneuver most basic opponents. So it was actually veils rather than mirrors that was the proper gateway into good combat. Putting into Port Prosper. Straighten ourselves out. The company's arrival. The port is in a state of commotion. The Tacketies have driven the Windward Company from their holdings in New Winchester and forced them to retreat to their smaller offices at Port Prosper. All right. The company is still moving staff and dependents into the Prosper offices, which were not exactly spacious even before the relocation. The Tacketies have the upper hand in the Reach now, and the company has drawn much of its strength to fortify Port Prosper. If you have dealings with the stovepipes, you'll need to conduct them here. All right. That's right, more homestead while exploring. More homesteads while exploring, while the Tacketies are in power. The other company house. I have some port reports. More gratitude for me. More ministry-stamped permits. Oh, it's now 10 company gratitude for 1 permit because they're in such a bad state. Ouch. Well, here at Queen's Cross. Port. Rely on your local credentials to meet your inconvenient aunts, friend. Yeah, I think it's just for skill checks and equipping gear. You're ushered to a table with an enviable view. Your aunt examines the menu with a critical eye. Ginger snaps, she exclaims. Goodness me, you cannot tell if this is a good thing or not. At last, an older lady joins you. She introduces herself as a countess. This is the last time, she says to your aunt. You're not to contact me again. That's a shame, dearie. But you've done so well for yourself since Newgate, your aunt replies mildly. The St. Dunstan's rendezvous concerned the murder of a son, the Countess says, frowning. There were 4 attendants, the chaplain of the new sequence, February, Her Majesty's Privy Councillor, and Her Majesty, the Queen. February is a revolutionary. It's referring to the head of the revolutionaries, which is the Calendar Council, I think? The Calendar Court? I don't remember. She rises and thrusts what looks like a Christmas card into your aunt's hand before walking away swiftly. There was a rather challenging quiz that was conducted through Fallen London some years back, and identifying some members of the Calendar Council was part of the quiz, which is tricky to do if you haven't been into the deeper storylines. And I've only scratched the surface of those. I had reached person of somewhat importance, person of slight importance, but not any of the at sea stories of those things. Well, Alright, yeah. I haven't done enough favors for the chairman to get in on this plotline otherwise. The hour of the factory visit arrives. Your sleeves quiver with excited rats, but in the jostle of gawpers, busybodies, stakeholders, and hangers-on, no one notices. The wrought iron gates with their cheery motif of butterflies swing open. A sharp-smiled company forewoman is on hand to lead the tour. Inside is an orderly purgatory of wheels, spindles, and great creaking looms. Steam, smoke, and the crystalline gleam of cracked hours makes visibility poor. Your sleeves squeak impatiently. Now to find the lieutenant. Oh, well, that's an easy way through. There are guards watching the workers. There are guards watching the machinery. Valuable if dismantled, disastrous if sabotaged. There are guards watching the upper doors at the private offices of the company board. Still, they can't watch everywhere. After only a few minutes, you've identified the door to the lieutenant's office. The little rat hole cut into the bottom of the door gives it away. Boom! You have a cart of explosives and a team of trained sabotage rats. Let the Windward Company tremble before you. There's not much left of the door, or the wall. In the suddenly revealed office, both the parsimonious chairman and an elderly rat blink at you in surprise. The elderly rat blinks several times. Cinders, I was wondering when this day would come. His voice quavers like an unfortunate flute solo in a school concert. My dear chairman, I advise that you do not move or even blink for the duration of this interview, or I suspect someone might do something unpleasant. The lieutenant turns his attention back to you. Before you do anything, I have one thing to say. Cinder's derringer is aimed squarely at the elderly rat's face. Parsimony's chairman moves to add half a lump of sugar to his tea. Thinks better of it. The lieutenant cowers before her. It wasn't me, he squeaks. You what? The words pour from him. I knew Sarge was up to something. Covert meetings, solitary reconnaissance. He made the deal with the company. There was a miscommunication. They fired too soon. Afterwards, they assumed I'd been in on it. They offered me everything they'd offered him. Yes, I took it. And I took your blame, too. Never told, did I? But keep your memory of your dear old Sarge. Cinder shakes her head and cocks her gun. No, not having it. What bleeding proof do you even have? The lieutenant spreads his paws on the table. I suspect the only proof left is in the vault. I'll give you my number regardless. I would ask you spare me until you've entered it, at least. In her pause, Cinder's gun wobbles. Maybe he shouldn't be shot dead. Cinder's claws curl around the trigger. Her whiskers tremble. The lieutenant pours himself a last cup of tea. 5 sugars. Bang! Several rats jump. Parsimony's chairman swears. Cinder's is fired into the desk. Get his number, she says between clenched teeth before scurrying out of the office. The lieutenant takes a last sip. Let me come with you. The company won't let me stay after this fuss. I'll give you the number once I'm on board. He leads you straight out of the factory, dismissing questions from colleagues with inventive lies. The lieutenant is aboard. And a performance at the Gaudy Widow. I haven't been on the Fallen London grind in quite some time. I used to be having a lot of fun with it before I changed my job over to somewhere where the web filters made it more annoying to access the site. I'm in IT, but it was still a bit annoying. I like having the page open routinely when I can manage. Of course, now I'm working from home, and it doesn't matter so much. I don't need a way of whiling away the hours so much. A box seat. Bit of gossip for the trouble. I might jump back into it. It's no matter. No. Easy to do so, I suppose. Oh, am I overstocked? How? What did I get? Did it force unequip something? No, my hold is still the same. What's new here? It's going to make me drop some stuff off. Well, I'm still in the reach, so let's transport a settler. Actually, a good idea. Wants to go to Titania. That's fine. Well, let's see. I'm gonna have to do away with some things. Let's sell a bit. All right. And quick chat with Rat Brigade. Oh, that's what it is. I got free fuel and supplies. Well, I guess that's fine. Sell those off. The whole brigade are gathered around Cinder's nest of spent bottles and old journals. All eyes are on her. She pads over to the lieutenant. His mustaches droop, but he meets her gaze. Here's the thing. I don't like you. I won't trust you. Cinder stands nose to nose with him. You were given a number, and you've shared it with us. Oh, this is Cinder's talking. But you were given a number, and you've shared it with us. We'll see this to the end, all of us. Just don't try anything. The lieutenant nods. Of course, sir. Cinders turns away. Wilma watches her with an appraising gaze. The Rat Brigade is ready to head for London. Okay, so now I have a lead back to London for them. I've got the Fatalistic Signalman. I need 3 panes of glass for the Repentant Devil's story. And what does the Inconvenient Aunt need to go do? What's up with you? What has she gotten involved in? And what's this with the Christmas card? One tick, dearie, just looking for... Aha! Clink of glass. Your aunt rises from an open suitcase, clutching a dusty bottle of brandy. I've got to get to Pan, in Eleutheria. That's where February is. Though she wasn't February when I knew her. She was my opposite number back in... but you want answers. February's on the Calendar Council, the revolutionary leadership. The Christmas card will get us to Winter's Reside. Your aunt brandishes the bottle. She has a fondness for brandy. I've been saving this for if I ran into her again. It should get us into her good graces. She'll be able to tell us what went on at St. Dunstan's. Okay, so that's moved along. Oh, whoops, I just redocked. I didn't mean to do that. Back out of there. Okay, so... the thing I'm most committed to doing right now is making sure I make good on the Fatalistic Signalman's plot advancement. So that is going to pull me back to New Winchester and then out to Lead Beaters. I think after that, I'll be putting it over to Hybris and possibly going to Eleutheria for the first time. So that's exciting. Is there any reason not to go to Eleutheria? London would get me better access to panes of glass if I wanted to finish up with... if I wanted to continue the Repentant Devil. I don't think it's a finishing up, I think it's just a continuing. Everything else asked me to go to Pan and Aklis. I might make a small detour just for cash if I have another very good opportunity to make good on. Oh. Little homestead. Perhaps the settlers left something behind. Well, yeah, that certainly is a worry. I could, I mean, the alternative really is to forestall until I have a better vessel. I could go see the Clockwork Sun to try and make it better. So some of my favorite bits of writing that are that I enjoyed seeing in Fallen London, seeing secondhand, and seeing firsthand in Sunless Seas is Polythreme. Ugh. That was a truly horrific place. We'll issue some additional brandy. Get our terror down just a little bit. We do need to hire on a bit more crew. Had a decent number of people leave when I decided to spend a year in the Trader's Wood just killing things. Ride of the Liberties. The development of the Liberator class is completed because I spent a year and a day doing something else. We'll hire on crew. Many of them, 4 to 6. Crew. We don't need repairs. Spies and Traders Wood. I'm not going to take that up. That's happened before, and I don't really care for it. Alright, literature for Palmiers. That's nice and quick. Seeds for Port Avon's not worth the time. In terms of literature, they would like 5 consignments. Oh, not that many. There we go. So we just need the 5 consignments of literature there. We got the 1 stained glass. We are up to the 6 bronze wood that we need in order to progress the Chiropteran Hoarder. So that is going to be one of my next things to do. And I don't think they sell the blue engine here. No, the Britamart's the best engine they have. Although I can afford the better engine if I wanted to. It's just putting me even further off from the possibility of getting a mansion somewhere, which is theoretically my ambition. I don't know. I mean, part of me thinks I might just keep sailing until I find the Martyr King's Cup instead. I don't know what other optional ambitions there are in Skies, apart from the Martyr King's Cup is the one I'm aware of, is a midway thing. I know that in Seas, you can change your ambition to founding a kingdom of your own. I believe that taking the Pentecostal apes to the sky, I'm not sure if that's an ambition or just a singularly long storyline you can be a part of. And then, of course, there are a few other hidden ambitions in Seas. Or hidden endings, I suppose. I'm not sure if it's entirely right to call them ambitions in some cases. Oh, you can all just do battle. Leave me out of it. The mustard. Partial success. Alright. Scavenge a bit of supplies from the galley. Lost a crew and gained terror. Ack! Need to blast this guy before he turns around. If I can keep on him while his back is to me, get a lot of damage in. Uh-oh, here we go. Ack. It's not in very good shape. Blasts got intercepted by bits of debris, but I was able to use some debris to block his shot too. So there. Cease with that very unsettling movement, will you? Move normally. These things have a lot of health, don't they? Yes! Let's see. The guests evicted. Their stolen home bursts open under your gunfire. Thousands of wriggling guests spill into the night, glistening like the ooze from a blister after it was lanced. Get a sample of their ligaments. In the ruins of the locomotive, crippled by the shrapnel that was once the hull, you find 2 of the guests in a weakened state. With a well-whetted saw, you slice them apart before returning to your locomotive with your bounty. I don't recall if there's anything else that was being asked for that most recent experiment. I'll check the journal in a moment. I think they're stuck. I think I can just move on. Maybe? Maybe? Alright, what does the journal have to say about what was required? Experiments. Pin of a scribe spinster, ligaments of a guest, trader's wood mandrake, and ice from Old Tom's well. We've actually got everything. Good time. It was actually a rather fortuitous time for a guest to show up. Always get a lot of chorister nectar whenever we come through here. I'm gathering that stuff up often enough to just consider myself an exporter of honey. It's just what I do. I think that's where most of my money comes in, is just hunting these bees. Well, a good amount anyway. Bit of terror reduction, capabilities inquest, basic research. I will turn in a lot of stuff. Pen of a scribe spinster, mandrake from trader's wood, the ligaments of guests, a sample of ice from Old Tom's well. Now I'll let you get to work. That was worth a lot of money. So long as I'm here, take a quick trip into the reserve for Sky Stories. We have way too many Sky Stories. Bazaar, they're selling tea rather than picking up more tea. I am going to make a bit of a hybris, I think. Let's see. So I need to go over here, at the very least. Question is if I'm continuing to hybris after that, or somewhere else. So there's hybris and the possibility of Eleutheria. And I think hybris at least is in order. Let's consult. So the Rat Brigade wants to go back to London. The Repentant Devil, I just need panes of glass. The Vagabond doesn't need to be here. The Navigator doesn't need to be here. The Pernickety Factor actually wants to go to there. I will learn more about what the Fatalistic Signalman wants to do after I've been to that next thing. Prospect of Lustrum. Yes. I think the biggest question is if I want to go to Faith's Fall. Which is notably a reach task. It's also 6 ironwood, or 6 bronzewood, which is not nothing. Let's see. Peacock Wind? I've got to sail against the Peacock Wind. There's going to be a lot of terror. A lot of terror, possibly a little bit of bees, if any bees decide to, like, blow up against me. Slip out of this on the left side, maybe. No.
it seems like it just keeps going. Come on now. There we go. Are you a genuine tackety or not? Not. Great. Of course. Get the heck away from me, you horrible squiggly thing. UCE Blaze of Paris. Oh, that's true. I mean, the Peacock Wind is certainly, I prefer it over nothing. That'll collide, right? Just use this as an alcove to hide for a little bit. Try to reposition somewhere beneficial. I hate the way guests move. Despite his complaint, he prunes away at the vine as neatly as a widow at her window box. Some recent visitor has left cigarette butts and unwashed cutlery scattered about. The signalman tidies them away. Then, taking a key from his pocket, he unlocks a drawer and removes a stuffed envelope from it. It contains old newspaper clippings about the construction of the Eisenbart line. Their tone is breathless, exalting the vision of the quixotic squire. Easy to forget people actually thought we'd manage it, the signalman muses. He stuffs the envelope under one arm. All done, he says, clambering back aboard. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's really just when it's like a headwind to the candle wind is no fun. I had to deal with that earlier. So, speaking further with the fatalistic signalman. He's in his cabin, surrounded by the notes and pages of his unfinished signaling catalog. A dim light illuminates the scribbling path of his pen on a fresh page. His pace has increased recently. Aye, a good job well done. But if you'll excuse me, I have a chapter to finish. As you leave, though, he calls back to you. Captain. His brown eyes are firm. Thank you. I don't know why you bothered, but you did. Alright. Need to be patient. Some facet to be gained. This is a new one. A correspondent. Once letters only had to travel from Harrow to Hackney. Now they have to cross the vast sky. Still, the postie does his best. Steam and soot, exercise regimen, secret symposium, or lost love. Okay. So we can have -1 nightmares or +1 moment of inspiration. That is tricky. I think I'll go with -1 nightmares. Affiliation academic at 2 or more. Let's see. It's probably going to be either Veils and Hearts or Hearts and Mirrors. I'll take the Veils. No, wait. Mirrors and Veils? Do I really need more mirrors right now? Not strictly. In a midnight lecture hall, a cadre of masked experts gathered to present papers on a subject the ministry had forbidden. Prohibited theories were shared, research partnerships born. You continue to correspond, in code, on the matters debated. What was the topic of the symposium? Let's see. A forensic assessment of the sun's remains just sounds really cool. The fate and physiology of Albion's dead sun are strictly barred from study. Condemned classic. Native-speaking scribes translate their nation's literature into editions palatable to the auditors. I'm just gonna go with the forensic. This is way cooler sounding. That is a different symbol than the perspective symbol. That seems like it's a mistake. Yeah, usually I think the symbol matches, doesn't it? Does it not? Seems to do so in other cases. Right, anyways, I suppose it's gonna be out the Hybris. That guest might still come creeping up. That's probably also another guest. Yep. Take that. Squiggly bastard. Look at that. Look at how that shot was curving. Oh, that was a bastard shot. I heard that thing squeal in delight for that hitting me. Really not committed to fighting these things. They have a lot of health. If I had a proper heavy weapon slot with a missile, it would be much easier to deal with. Well, got some damage sustained. So long as we're not in a prolonged fight with something particularly awful, we'll be okay. The barest essence of caution should be sufficient. Let's see, how does the night fare? It's 9:30? That's fine. We've been at it for a few hours, but we've a few hours to spare. Give or take. Let's see. I want to know more about the overall shape of the outer walls here. And I've got about the fuel and supplies to see to that. I've got the pernickety factor on board to take over to Hybris and see how jacked up it is. Okay, as I thought, there's no way through here on the northern wall. Right. I think it's over this way that is the lift to Eleutheria. It is annoying to go out to Hybris and not take the Eleutheria lift. I'm not sure if there's something more convenient later to take this whole trek. Quick repositioning. Ah, that's my very useful. That's handy. No matter how you slice it, you've got these long stretches of sky in and around Hybris. It's quite creepy if you haven't been to Warlebury. Looks vaguely like a skull. Isn't that entertaining? The junior signaler collars you in the galley. She asks if you've seen the fatalistic signalman, who hasn't reported for duty today. The other crew haven't seen him since he retired to his cabin last night. The junior signaler has tried knocking and received no response. Several crewmen exchange glances, but the young signaler says she's already checked the exterior hatch and found it securely closed. A macabre but pragmatic precaution.
As a captain, you don't need to wait for a come-in. His cabin is empty. His belongings are gone. His bed is nearly made. All that remains are the newspaper clippings that the signalman retrieved from the overgrown signal box, spread across the tiny table. The smell of tobacco still clings to them. You glance at their headlines. Ambitious plan to ring the Reach. New line to be miracle of modern engineering. Construction begins on Eisenbarred Line's fifth signal box. You only visited 4. The article claims that despite recent setbacks, Quixotic Squire was building a final signal box in the vicinity of Hybris. Somewhere near Hybris. Well, that's convenient. A fledgling colony trying to dig its fingernails, so on and so forth. Shore leave in a fungal meadow. The crew requests a little R&R. They follow you out into what passes for a meadow between livid mushrooms and oozing polyps. The silence of the place hangs heavily on you. Some of the crew attempt to break it with a ballad of the promised days. I'll join the crew in song. Terror has fallen. Hybris deserted. The colonists' houses are dark. There's no sign of a soul about. The smithy is empty. No smoke comes from the Brendan chimneys. The fretwork on the town hall remains unfinished. A bee laced with curling fronds flies by, its drone the only sound in Hybris. Bright purple mushrooms dot the greenery. The Pernickety factor is alarmed. This is very disagreeable. I was expecting to find people here. Disappearing like this is extremely rude. You split up and make a quick circuit of the village. You discover tables laid out for dinner, cold tea still in Nanza's pot, the notes, in large print, half written for the mayor's council meeting, laid out on his desk. You find the Pernickety factor near the station. She holds up a piece of disintegrating mushroom that resembles a crocus. I found this near the town hall. There's a new field of them out in the forest. This is most irregular. Let's keep looking. Gardening seems to have become particularly popular lately. Wheelbarrows have been cobbled together from cast-offs from the carpenter's workshop. Purple fungus like crocuses dot the green. Meanwhile, food rots in the Brendan's larders, and the carpentry on the town hall is infected with creeping mushrooms. All recent work aside from gardening appears to have been abandoned altogether. Pernickety factor coughs away spores. There's a superior researcher on Leabitter and Stainrod's Nature Reserve who might be able to tell us more about these wretched mushrooms. Purple fungus sprouting all over Hybris is very similar to the ones MME Lumiere was filming. Perhaps she might know something. We'll write a port report. You can still buy a half-price stack of penny dreadfuls. We'll scavenge for fuel and supplies. Gets us a good bit. Be warned, now it is deserted. You will no longer be able to purchase fuel or supplies at Hybris. Plan your journeys carefully. Right, that is always difficult to deal with. So, there is another signal box somewhere near Hybris. That's not it. It's a little disconcerting the way that sound chooses to play out. Like, I shot that thing there, the fungal colony, and I heard the sound on my left instead of on my right. Might be that all manner of sounds are screwed up by these things, because I can't hear my shots. Well, at least it's done with now. Get its last complaint. I'll try to render the fungus edible. Looks like we can do that on demand. And that's worth 2 supplies. Not bad, considering that I need to be doing a lot of scouting. Discontent. An additional bit of brandy. Easy enough. That terror has fallen. I think I can avoid the crew loss on this every single time. I only have a limited use for uncanny specimens, but hey. Let's check over this way. See what we may come across. You're not where you thought you were. Let's see. Wrath of the Storm that speaks. This is the first time I failed this one. The mist is soft at the windows. The stars have gone awry. You crawl onward. There's an outbreak of violent star madness among the crew. In time, you find your way back to a stretch of sky you can locate on your chart. The journey continues. It was kind of like 2 terror events in rapid succession. Pretty annoying. As I had just doled out a bit of brandy, and immediately we're back at it. Old pastures. I wouldn't mind a nightmare conversion sometime soon. Okay, so here is the lift to Eleutheria. I'm gonna check in here. I want to see what this is about. A stone edifice, scintillant with sigils, is encased in a contrivance of steel and brass. This is a Singh-Jenkins relay, allowing transport via a loophole in some cosmic mandate to a far-flung district of heaven. This one leads to Eleutheria, a place of revolutionaries and malcontents. It is little used. Let's see. I can buy one for 800 sovereigns, or I can turn in some ministry-approved literature and 9 visions of the heavens. Well, I'll get the travel permit. The officer buries his nose in a book, only recalling his side of the bargain when you cough twice meaningfully. I'm so sorry, forget my manners. Don't get much company here, and I have another 3 weeks left. He passes you an ornately marked vellum scroll sealed with the Eagle's Empyrean emblem. Might look nice, but they don't fit in my filing cabinet. Bloomin' Empyrean show-offs. Apparently feels no need to be polite about London's once ally, even though it was Empyrean technology that helped open the door to the heavens. Yeah, I'm gonna return to the Reach. Not gonna worry about the travel now, but having a hold of the permit is pretty good. Okay, so if the Eleutheria transit relay is over here, I'm guessing maybe up in here might be the other signal box. Oh look, 3 hours. Handy dandy. Yeah, terror ticks up pretty quickly around here, doesn't it? Pain in the neck. Now. Discontent, again. Cover the body and transport it for burial. Let's get on a nightmare. Enough of that. Carve you apart. Bronze wood. Bit of supply. All right. Now maybe we'll stop getting these continual, incessant terror events. Although we're still going to be ticking up on terror quite a bit. It's just the way this place is. Is this nature? Fairy tales don't mention it's jewels. Well, princess, that's what you get. Water Paul's meadow. Something valuable over there, but it's really not helping me out in terms of where the signal box is. You're a guest. Oh, this is Fate's Fall. I thought the other one was Fate's Fall. Crap. 6 bronze wood. Body, repair your locomotive. Leave. Ah, yes, leaving is a good option. Okay, so there's Fate's Fall. I'm not finding the bit I was looking for. And there are 2 guests here. And I keep getting goddamn terror events. Should be fairly injured now. There we go. Finally. Yeah, found the relay. Search the wreckage for valuables. A captivating treasure. Okay, that's pretty good. The guests occupied the wreck as comprehensively as a snail does its shell. Crew have long since been ground to paste. What is this? Preserved beneath the floor of the captain's cabin. A safe. You drag it free, scrub of, that should have been off, the worst of the guest ooze, and carry it back to your engine. Something thumps enticingly inside. You know, the notion of captivating treasures thumping, and the effect the captivating princess seems to have on various things, seem to entail that there's a sinister implication to the term captivating. I suppose I couldn't place blame for that, being sinister. Let's see. So, the vicinity of Hybris, there's only like one other tiny place to check, unless it's literally behind the Eleutheria transit relay. One exploration. So I get the feeling that this thing I'm looking for on behalf of the fatalistic signalman probably is only able to appear after you've completed that bit of dialogue, and I think it probably spawns somewhere along this route, maybe down here. I can slip past the battle at Culveston and check on
this area just past Chance's Gloom. After that, I think I'm gonna have to circle back around, go back to the main parts of the Reach. Get things deposited and transacted. I may be able to return to Faith's Fall with the 6 bronze wood and the extra crew. Oh, that's the new Takati ship, isn't it? Well, isn't that something? Ha! Get close to that thing. Oh, some hull recovery. That's very handy. Problem. This is probably just secrets. Gossip. Gossip. That's right. I find it funny that secrets are like a basic currency in Fallen London, but they're your level up currency specifically in Sunless Seas. And in Skies, there's like they're an odd secondary currency that you don't really need much of. Is this the one? This looks like it. It wasn't here before. Pale clumps of Hybrian fungus cling to the old signal box. Inside, the contamination is even worse. Fungus coats every surface as pristine as fresh snowfall. When you open the door, you scrape a neat arc in the carpet of it. Otherwise, it is undisturbed. No one has been here in years. White spores hang in the air like snowflakes afraid of falling. Russian spores from the shapes of the bedside table. One of the shapes is squarish, the size of your palm. The other is larger and domed. The spores rise in puffy clouds. You shield your nose and mouth. You encounter an empty packet of cigarettes and a gray bowler hat. It is only a rough cylindrical shape under its cover of bedsheets and fungus. The corpse is desiccated, ravaged by fungus. It lies on its side, facing the wall, knees drawn up. Its back is to you, which makes the act of brushing off the spores seem like a violation of privacy. But you have to know. And indeed, under the coat of pale spores, it wears a gray Isambard-lined uniform. Was it the cold that killed it? Fungus? Sickness? It's impossible to say. The high wilderness holds 1,000 quiet deaths. You can only be sure that it has lain here, undiscovered and undisturbed, for years. Unlock the cabinet. A key protrudes from a door in the bedside cabinet. Inside, safely secured away from the fungus, is a thick, handwritten manuscript. Signs and signals of the high wilderness, an omnibus. Its pages are filled with the fatalistic signalman's hurried penmanship and describe almost every signal language used in Albion and the Reach with encyclopedic thoroughness. In appendices, the omnibus also addresses the secret signals used by marauders and smugglers, attempts to interpret the spasms and tattoos of scorn flukes, and deciphers the echoing shrieks of curators. There is nothing else of value in the signal box. The trail ends here, at a white, silent grave. The omnibus is sufficiently comprehensive that even a basically qualified signaler can use it and operate as a much more experienced one. It functions as an officer and can be assigned to your signaler slot. It grants +10 mirrors and +2 to affiliation villainy. The story of the signalman is concluded. You acquired a copy of the signalman's magnum opus, Signs and Signals of the High Wilderness, an omnibus. You step outside and close the door. Behind you, the spores are already settling. Climbing back onto your engine, you brush them off your skysuit. The crew are keen to be away from here. That's an unexpected cool twist. I believe that would mark my only upgraded signaler. +10 mirrors.
Ah, I have to be docked. The crew degree values a degree of stability. Well, glad to have progressed that to the end. Seen it through. I do expect the corpse to be the fatalistic signalman. The fact that it is so desiccated and bedecked with mushrooms, I would call a trick of time, theoretically. It's altogether possible that the signalman himself had been there for a longer time, and his being on our ship may have been the anomaly. Right, I was supposed to be delivering these to Palmyra and Plenty's. Instead, I spent a few of them. Also got business down in the nature reserve. Let's see. I'm gonna go to the nature reserve regarding the occurrences at Hybris, and then back to New Winchester. I think from New Winchester, I'm going to plan on going to Palmyra's, followed by Faith's Fall, followed by the Eleutheria Transit Relay. So then, the thing that is wanted by the curator is from the corpse of a judgment. I thought the thing he wanted was the thing that's frozen in the ice. What did I mistake that for? The grave of the Silent Saint. I'll probably have to face off with some guests or other things again when I come back as well. But a captivating treasure. That does pull me a good bit closer to accomplishing my goal. Ah. We finished out the work of 2 crew members, or 2 officers. So with that, it may be a fine time for us to think about retiring the captain. I don't know, I think if I retire the captain, I might go back to the very beginning for the story of the repentant devil and the captive princess. The captivating princess. And both of those have demanded me to go all around. We do this every time yet? Not quite, but most of the time. Tear her down. I might want to go to Magdalene's before I go to Eleutheria, just in case. Are they done with the research yet? Looks like they finished up. His research was cancelled. Evil befell my colleagues. My research has been cancelled. Lean bitter instead, Ron won't tell me why. Cut my funding and took away my work. He takes an unhappy nibble of pie. They're shutting down research here. The entirety of their production is turning toward Apollonian cinders. And his colleagues? One sang her voice away, and that didn't stop her. A few have shut themselves away with their research. The researcher shakes his head. There must have been something here causing the fatal obsessions. If you'll help me discover it, I'd be grateful. A calculating look flits across his face. I'll need someone to go into the reserve. They'll have to be well armed. You captains carry munitions, right? Okay. Does he just want munitions this time? Oh no, he's actually that's actually the full list of everything. Okay, I guess you can bring him any of that stuff now. With a secret initiative, you'll find him in his cabin. Need a carefully packed crate of munitions. All right, I've never actually progressed that beyond this point. Let's see, is it at the loading bay that I would Okay, I can now export Apollonian cinders. Demand is so much greater than the supply. Leadbeater and Stain Rods are raking in sovereigns. Have them deliver a shipment. To New Winchester? Sure thing. Transporting cinders is good business. Some captains sign contracts with Leadbeater and Stain Rod, committing to carry only that product. Other enterprising souls have set up arrangements with the company to bring cinder enthusiasts to the park for a closer look at the product. They've all seen it go wrong once or twice for some weak-willed individual who couldn't handle a pinch of cinder. No one blames the snuff. Alright. Okay, so where do I go with the pernickety fact? Ah, here we go. Consult a superior researcher on your findings in Hybris. The cabin walls shine with a slick of golden residue smeared over the wood. The superior researcher is moving about the room lighting candles. The air is musky. Do forgive the smell. The last sample exploded. She leans in to kiss the pernickety factor on the cheek, who produces a handkerchief as soon as the researcher's back is turned. She's very interested in the bit of purple fungus you present her. How fascinating! Unfortunately, my lab's rather depleted after the last incident. If you could fetch me a live specimen, we can get to work. Needs a caged catch. Okay, so this needs a caged catch and munitions. We're definitely getting to some of the more persnickety elements. We'll stock up, and it's back to New Winchester from this. So, let's see. I could possibly come back to Leadbeaters with those two items. I believe I have a caged catch in storage, as well as... I definitely have the munitions. I've got munitions to spare. Okay, and then there's going to be, of course, the possible opportunities to turn in at Palmyra and Plenty's. Then there's all of the bronze wood that will be necessary in order to take care of whatever it is that Chiropteran Hoarder wants to look at. So caged catch and munitions, and then series of things for Palmyre's. Boom. Those ships have got to be worth quite a lot if you blow them up. Got so many good stockpile, I could probably sell them out for some very interesting improvements. I think if I went to London, I could certainly afford the, what's it called? The Agravane. Bit of repairs. Like my crew to be full on. Oh, I can deliver these cinders. 50 sovereigns. It's the same exchange. Let's see, I need 2, 3. I'll make sure I get what I need. Right, I didn't take this on because it just seeds for Port Avon. I don't care. Depositing this, and the tea, and the hours, and those. Taking up the 6 bronze wood. The 5 of that. 1 crate of munitions. And I don't actually have a caged catch. So I suppose I should do both the munitions and the caged catch later. And probably just worry about moving on to Eleutheria. And making the trade-off at Palmyra and Plenty's, just because it's good money. Alright, so we've got our route and our task set in line, but as the time is kind of slipping away, and we've been online for about 3 hours and 45 at this point, give or take, I'd like to close it out here for tonight. We'll be getting back to this perhaps for some stint on Friday, likely for some stint on Saturday. I have an unusually free weekend. Unfortunately, my DM for D&D has got his son's come down with COVID, so we can't really be doing our usual meetups, but I may find some alternative. We'll see what the weekend has in store. Might be a bit of this, might be a bit of something else. I've got a few other distractions along the way. And I hope perhaps I might have some company for some of those. Unfortunately, my schedule on Twitch is, my calendar, is woefully outdated, and I have made very little effort to fix that. But if I don't get anybody for some of this stuff, all of this is going up on YouTube later for this game at the least. Any amount of Dead by Daylight and Evil Dead, I'm not currently recording, so we're not likely to have those posted up unless there are some particularly exciting games. Without further ado, this has been Jupiter Exile. I hope we wander again soon. Good night.